Oh, yeah. Welcome to YouTube Land with the Everything and Nothing podcast starring my brother, Shannon Ambrosio.
The one and only.
My man.
The not famous, but infamous brother of love. And how is everybody out there today, folks? It is going down right here at the Everything and Nothing podcast studio. Thank you, Frank. Frank already knows the old eyes may need a looky.
Yeah, no,
you understand what I'm saying?
Looky in the car.
They get well. That's why we got to share. We now have the first community pair of reading eyeglasses, folks. So we will do that another time. Hold on.
That's for another show.
That's for another show. But we're gonna check it out. And think about it. I think we're going to talk about the spectacle goggles at some point, I think, on the podcast.
Yeah. So I started probably when I was about 47.
With the eye goggles?
Yeah, with just readers. Just all of a sudden you're like, anybody got glasses? I can't quite see that.
I think I started when I was like 43 into 44. Yeah, that's when I started.
When you started needing the bifocals and the extra goggles, it's like an extra. I mean, they really do work, but I mean,
yeah, it does. It definitely helps.
You just can't see. You can't even read a paper anymore without them.
Right.
Listen.
A paper. That right now we're showing our age.
You don't read a paper yet?
Now we're showing our age. The paper.
The paper. Get the paper.
We're going to get the papers. The papers.
But that's what's up here today.
We loved him. He said everything 2 times.
Maybe 2 times. He said everything twice.
Okay, folks. So it's going down today here on the Everything and Nothing podcast. Your boy from Brooklyn, Shannon Ambrosio, is going to go back in time today. We're going to go back to the days when the clubs were the clubs in New York City, when it was the place to be any day of the week.
Or any night of the week.
Or any night of the week.
The weekdays actually were better than the weekends.
Yes. Well, especially for us.
Yeah.
When you get to work the weekends and then hang out during the week.
Yeah.
It was always really good.
I think that's the allure of the whole idea of the nightlife scene, especially back in the days, because we all started, the 3 of us.
Yep.
And let me go around the table. Everybody knows this is the one, the only big before any name that I know personally that means something, the master of disaster, the marvelous man, Big fucking Rich.
Yeah. Big Rich in the
I'm
house.
here. I've been here. I've been doing this since I'm 16.
Mm-hmm. It's around the time I started when I was 17.
16.
Yeah.
And God rest his soul, my father, Big Donnie Waldhelm, dragged me in. He says, you think you're tough? You think you're tough? You want to be tough? You can't be tough. You're not tough. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to behave. You don't want to do anything your mother tells you.
Goddamn thing.
You know what? Come work with me at the bar.
That's it.
At the club.
One time.
That's it. It took once. I was like, yo, I'm going back to school.
Word.
The hell with this.
No.
Word. So, on the right, it is the man with the plan. I didn't say the master plan, because sometimes it's no plan. That is the plan.
That's right.
But that is the man.
Whatever comes up.
Number one. Not one hand, but 2 hands. And he will get you. And if he don't get you going, he will get you coming.
Frankie slaps.
I'm telling you right now. If the left hand could be taken over by the right, that man right there will give you both of them.
Right.
So tell everybody what's going on, Frank.
What's up, guys? I've been in this business now for about 17 years. Well, actually going on 25.
25 now.
25,
But 17
is when
in
I
the
started.
club scene.
Yeah. Since I was 17 years old, yes.
Yeah, over 30 years.
Yeah, it's a long time, and that's when we ran everything. There was no doorman, there were no bottle host or any of that type of shit.
Oh, yeah.
But,
There's a bottle host now?
Shoot,
bottle,
a bottle host,
they've been
right?
had them.
What, you had a table?
Yeah, well, back in the day, it was a table.
A
Yeah,
table.
you can't even go into a club. Years ago, you can go to a club, pay the admission fee, see a freestyle group or whatever,
Right, a band.
and enjoy
Sure.
your night. Now you can't even get into a club if you got to pay like $400 or $500 for a table.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how they get you. They hit you that way.
Yeah.
So it's all bullshit. That whole that whole thing of getting in clubs and tables, it's all bullshit.
All
right. Yeah. They
nonsense.
give you the one bottle. They give you 5 glasses, and they throw a lime at you.
Yeah,
Right.
and then all the freeloading bitches come up to the table and they want to take all the fucking liquor from you, and then they walk away. Then the guys are with you. Oh yeah, we're getting laid tonight, man. And then what happens? They walk away, and then your liquor's gone, and you got to buy another bottle.
That's right.
And your dumbass is going home
You go home by yourself.
alone.
See, but when I used to get a table with my friends, we go out. As soon as they come over to the table, I just go like that with my finger, get the fuck away from my table. Go get your own liquor.
Yeah. Unless they walked in with us, they wasn't hanging with us.
That's it.
It's
That's
going
the way it
down
is.
tonight. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to get the real deal here. This ain't no bullshit. Between the three of us, Frank is still doing it. 20, how many years? 25?
Yeah, 20. Yeah, it's going on almost
30.
30 years.
Almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Him and his brother.
Right.
And me and Big Rich. As a matter of fact, the four of us used to be a team at the Palladium.
Yes.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
We did it a bunch of times.
And did you and the underground?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
they
we-
started.
No, not the underground.
Not the-
it was
we were basically all together in the Palladium in
Palladium.
all those days.
Palladium.
did,
Limelight,
a little bit of
Tunnel.
Limelight.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that
we
was
worked in
all.
those
That was
spots.
all. That was all. I call it the Gation clique because
Yeah,
Peter
right,
Gation
right,
all,
Gation.
all those clubs, and
Yep,
that's right.
we all. I
And
don't know
we-
if you guys worked at USA,
Yeah,
Club USA.
I worked at Club USA.
I didn't do USA. no.
Actually, I did USA maybe 2 weeks. I didn't like it, so I went back to the Palladium.
Mm.
I didn't even
did a
like. I
place
didn't even.
called B Square.
No, I don't.
I did it. I did it a couple of times with.
You guys remember CBGBs?
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
It's so funny. I remember one time I was working in a club, and one of the guys that I was working for had the account at CBGB's. So he asked me to cover for the night to go over there. And little did I know, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I had to do the door. And I'm like with all these fucking people with purple hair and
Yeah.
all piercings all over their
Yeah,
body,
or
and I
no
was
hair,
like, how do
or-
I
Yeah.
even deal with this type of crowd? They're all slam dancing.
Right.
But I worked there for 2 nights, and it was an experience. That's why I
Sure.
can always say I worked at CBGB's
Right.
That's
when it
what's up.
was.
I didn't get a chance to do it. That's one of the clubs I definitely missed out on doing.
Mhm.
But I did the Rock Capital of Brooklyn. I did Lemoore's. I did
Yeah.
Lemoore's for a
Oh,
while.
yeah,
Lemoore's.
Lemoore's, yeah.
You
Yep.
know,
Mhm.
if anybody knows Lemoore's,
In
you've-
Brooklyn.
you've seen me.
Yeah.
That was a good time. That was a good time. That was late 80s, early
Mhm.
90s.
And for all you millennials out there, that was a real fucking long time ago
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
when the club scene was the club scene.
And we
Yep.
can even go into like the actual clubs where good Latin clubs nowadays.
Yes.
Years ago, it used to be the
Mhm.
Copacabana,
Latin
Lepoles,
Quarters.
El Morocco, Latin Quarters, all of them. Those were the top line
Yep.
nightclubs as far as like to go and hear like good Latin
Yeah.
bands. They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have that
The
shit
Copa?
anymore.
No.
No.
They don't have it. And then years ago, you had to dress. When I worked at the Copa
Oh,
Yeah.
on 60th
Dress.
and Madison, you had to wear a suit, hands down. And they did you had to be 25 and over.
yes.
Women had to be 21 and over.
Right.
Men had to be 25 and over
yes.
and fully dressed.
And fully dressed.
Yeah.
Fully dressed,
a lot of
meaning
the
suit,
places-
tie,
right.
everything. No bullshit, no
A lot of
collared shirt,
places-
no jeans, no khakis, none of that crap.
Funny, right? Funny you say
Wearing-
about a dress code. There was a dress code at the Underground.
Yes.
Now the dress code
Jesus, I
was
remember that.
was funny.
Yep.
The dress code was a funny thing because the place opened at 9.
Yep.
But if you wore a jacket and tie
Yep.
from 9 to 11, you got in for $5.
Yep.
It was normally $20 to get in.
Yeah.
I
But
remember.
you got in for $5. Is the guy's name who was promoting it was Beard
Bear
Jones.
Jones.
Yes,
Beard
I was-
Jones.
Yo,
I
he
swear-
was around forever.
It's so funny.
Forever.
I actually worked. I did a lot of private events for Bear Jones.
Yeah.
He was interesting, but he was actually he calls himself the last American virgin at
There
that
you go.
time.
Nice.
And it was cool because we did I remember one time when I first met Bridget Nielsen years ago. We were doing something at the tunnel, and I told Bear Jones, and he was like, "Oh, would you and your brother come and work the event for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, and I saw Bridget Nielsen there, and I was like, "Oh my god." And I was like, I said, Bad, you got to introduce me to her. And after that, like I did a lot of stuff for Bad. I kind of felt bad because, a lot of people used to pick on Baird, but he was
Really?
actually,
Yeah, but he got a lot of people in. He got a
Yeah,
lot. He
yeah.
got the buzz created around the nightclub
right.
scene.
And he made it so like if you weren't there and you weren't dressed to impress,
Yeah.
you weren't coming in.
Yeah.
You want to hear something funny? I still got like 4 of his cards.
The one
Oh,
with the
with
guy
the-
with the
With
guy
the
on
little
the back.
glasses, the one that looks like him.
I still got one.
I have like 5 of them.
I wanted to find the box. I got a shoe box. I wear a size 14, folks. I got a shoe box full of passes.
What does that mean, 14?
14. You know, shoot, the guys with
What are you
big
trying to
feet.
say?
Guys with big feet. You know, they
Hold
got
on, let me-
big shoes.
let me
What
get
about
this out.
big hands? Big
Right.
hands.
I got a shoebox full of passes from the 80s. I think the first pass I have is actually from Studio 54, the night that, oh man, I'm forgetting his name. The guy they did the where the guy's Animal House, where they get on the floor, shout. Shout.
Otis.
Otis Redding.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have that pass that he played there that
No
night.
way.
Was in the club. I was 15,
Yeah.
but I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
At 15, I was 6 foot.
Yeah,
All I
everybody,
did was let the hair grow in a little bit.
everybody out there. So my brother, yes, has always been just big. He didn't get the name Big Rich because he got big, one day. He's been big, our
Just-
whole childhood. So
Yeah, so I
he
got
started
lucky
working in the
enough.
clubs 15, 16 years old.
Yep.
I mean, I had to earn my bones.
Yeah.
Much like Frank and his brother.
Yeah.
We had to earn our bones, right?
And the funny thing was,
Wasn't as easy for us. We weren't really big guys back then.
And it's a funny story how I got started in this business. I was actually a regular at the Undergrounds.
Yes, well, that's
I
why I
used
was
to
saying.
go and hang out with
Go
my
hang out,
friends.
right.
And because you remember too, if you remember back those days, we didn't have radios. We
Nope.
didn't have, the only thing we had was
Flashlights.
flashlights. And
Flashlights.
remember, nobody dressed in black.
Yes.
I remember how I got the job in the Undergrounds. I beat the shit out of a bouncer that I didn't even know was a bouncer. He was wearing white sneakers with Asher Wash jeans and a white T-shirt.
There you
How
go.
the fuck do I know?
And
he's
he
a
got
bouncer?
tagged.
Yep.
And he got his ass kicked by Double Pleasure.
What
There you
up,
go.
baby? So maybe you don't know who Mike and Rafone is.
Oh no. So you're working with us next week? No.
Yeah, and that's
that's-
very much how I started in the business too with Rich,
Right.
because I would go down and hang out.
Go hang out with
Rich,
us.
Rich worked, and that's how I met Frank and his brother Mike. And I would go down there because Rich worked, and I was boxing at the
Right.
time.
Right. And
And-
hang out. We go there after a match.
Yep.
You go after a match. There was a couple of nights I went there after playing football. I played semi-pro football for a little while, and I would play the game and then go there, take
Yeah.
the train
Yeah. To work.
in my equipment.
Yeah.
Like me and friggin' somebody else would come with me and
Yep.
just
Right.
I would take my equipment off on the train. People would be like, "What the hell is this guy?"
And then go to work
Go to
at
work.
the underground.
And to work for 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right. But see, good thing about my brother, everybody out there, is my brother's always big. So it was easy. Like the whole idea of him being a big guy, knowing how to handle himself, being athletic, he was easy for him to get a gig.
Yeah.
You get guys that
Oh,
were
yeah.
average size and height. You had to have a skill. You had to be good at like martial arts,
Right,
or be
yeah,
a
so, yeah.
boxer, or you had to
But
be
just know how to handle yourself.
right,
And
or know
believe
how
it-
to handle yourself.
And believe it or not, a lot has to do with the way you talk to people.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
just about
100%.
picking somebody up and throwing them out. I've diffused so
Oh,
many
please.
situations
Yes.
where brawls could have started out, but
Yes.
the way you talk and
Yeah.
diffuse the
Oh, if I had
situation,
a nickel
that's how
For
it.
every time I stopped something before it even happened.
Yep.
I wouldn't be sitting here doing
That's why I
Yeah,
laugh
this.
when everybody wants to worry about, I want to get a guy that's like 7 foot. I'm no joke.
Oh,
never.
I worked with guys that were like
We all
6'7", and they couldn't
We
even
all have.
talk their way out of a fucking paper bag.
talk
Yep.
their way out of a paper bag.
They
how
couldn't
many
fight
guys?
their way out of the
How
They
many
paper.
couldn't even
guys-
fold a paper bag.
So many guys 6'5", 6'6", 350, 400 pounds. They got a radio in their hand, and the fight is going on. They're going.
Let me get out of here. I think there's something happening.
They're walking the other way.
Yeah.
How many times? How many times I tell guys, "Yo,
Where were you?
Right.
I was
That
in
was
the
a big
bathroom.
thing for us back in the day. Remember?
I was in
Yeah.
the bathroom.
Yeah, I was in a
Where were
bathroom.
you?
In the bathroom.
Where were you when it happened? When it went down?
And last time anybody ever told me that when there was a problem, you were in the bathroom, you never worked there again.
No.
That's I don't care who you know.
Yeah.
You know,
No, it's-
there was a problem there. There was 9 of us there. You're number 10. Where were you?
Yeah.
Word
I was
up.
in the bathroom. You're not working next week.
And
Yeah,
then it's
you
funny
ain't
too
working no
because
more.
then I want to bring up too because it's kind of cool working in clubs back in like the late 80s, early 90s because then you had hip hop coming out. Because if you remember when you went to
Right.
the clubs years ago, everything was all freestyle. Judy
Yeah.
Torres,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know,
TK,
Johnny
TKA.
TKO. Okay.
Tony.
Yeah, oh God. And then when
Lisa,
hip hop
and the
slowly
and the
started
Cold
coming
Jet.
out, and you know, we always thought that hip hop was just gonna come and go.
It was gonna-
It
right.
was gonna be a fad like
Yep, it
hip
was
hop,
gonna-
but hip hop blew up to be major, and you know, they were all celebrities now, and movie
Yeah.
stars.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. The nightclub scene that we worked in, when you worked Sunday at Tunnel at Mecca,
Mhm.
it was a
Oh,
rarity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But it was the largest club on this coast,
on the East Coast.
one
right.
floor. That was one floor.
That's right.
And they had, and I've met,
And
we
everybody
have,
went there.
all of us have met some of the biggest hip hop artists there
Ever.
are.
And
Ever.
even before they started, because I
Right.
remember when I
Ever.
used to work in the tunnel,
I remember
before
Busta
Biggie
Rhymes,
before
he
Biggie
got
even
big.
came out, Biggie used to, of course, Biggie was always the one that used to start all the trouble there.
Yep.
But I
Yo,
remember before
his rap game was killer.
Yep, I remember before that. Flex was there. Flex blew up over in
Yep.
Tunnel, and I
Thanks
remember
to
when P Diddy used to hang
P.
out
Diddy.
in
Yes,
the
all
DJ
the
booth
time.
before they
All
were
the
even
time.
famous.
Yep.
Before
All the
nobody.
time.
Yep.
We've seen them all. And big
Flex.
shout out to Funk Master Flex.
Yeah,
Funk Master
Flex,
Flex
yeah.
used to mess with my brother all
Used
the
to
time.
shout me out.
He
At
was-
the,
Yeah,
Yo,
Flex is great.
Not
yeah.
for nothing.
here's the white guy bouncer.
Right.
You know,
That was the thing.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, I think it was me, my brother Shannon, Frenchie.
Yeah.
I think we were like, and I think Richie too, right? All of us, like, we maybe a handful, 5 of us,
Yeah.
of like white bouncers working
the only
in an
ones.
all-black
Right.
club.
The only
Yeah.
ones.
It was the
And-
same thing like on Friday nights at the Underground.
Yeah,
Friday
right.
nights at the Underground was all reggae.
All reggae.
It was
Right.
all reggae, but
If you, and that was the
I
thing. Like
stuck
if
out
you
like a
weren't,
sore thumb.
if you weren't a
Me
cool,
and Patty Cisco.
yeah, if you weren't fucking cool with everybody, you couldn't work though. And that was the
Right.
good thing I think about the nightclub scene for us, because it really showed us a lot of camaraderie between, races, religions.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we worked
Yeah, it
with
didn't
every
matter.
race, every religion. It didn't matter.
It
When
didn't
you
matter.
worked,
When you
when you were a
worked, we
bouncer
we
at a
together.
nightclub, yo,
And if you weren't
you
with
were
us,
like tight as you was thick as thieves.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, and it's another thing I want to bring up too, because a lot of people too don't understand. That's why they started coming out with all these certifications and stuff
Yes,
with security.
yes, because
Because
there was a
unfortunately-
handful of
right,
guys that were
because-
out of control.
Right, out of control. And there was a lot of guys that when they came out of jail, and if they did
They
visit,
didn't-
they didn't have,
they
they
didn't have
couldn't get a
much to
job
go,
anywhere.
right.
So bouncing was the easiest way
Was
to
the
make money.
easiest way to make
So,
make $1, which is hey, listen,
Which is
I
okay
understand
as long
that.
as you're not tuning people up every night.
right.
it's
Because
a
that's when it's a problem.
it was an idea to earn a decent living working at night.
Right. You can
Um,
live.
You
And
could
let me-
live.
And let me tell you, I can't begin to tell
Because
you
we all
how
know
many
it's cash
times
business.
I've had jobs in the past, whether it be a day job, night job, whatever, that I've always had clubs to fall back on.
Yep.
That, I used to get nervous. Whether I got fired, I quit or whatever from a day job, that the clubs were always there backing me
Right.
up. And I always had money to pay my bills. And, it's, it kind of like, that's why I give that business a lot of respect.
Me too. 110%. 100. And
Yeah.
we had
we did it for, it was a lifestyle.
Yep.
It was a lifestyle
It
for a
definitely
while.
was.
From the late 80s to early 90s. That'd be a good 7-8 years there.
all the way
It
through
was-
the 90s.
It was lifestyle.
It's like a
That
lot
was
of
it.
times too. What I do is like sometimes when I'm in the city and I drive around and I pass by all these spots that I used to work at, like
Yeah.
no longer you
Gone.
can't even recognize it.
No.
It's like nothing.
Well,
Nothing.
the Palladium is now
It's a
dorms, right?
It's a
Dorms.
dorms, yeah, for New York
And
University.
NYU,
Is it
right?
NYU or
It's
St.
NYU,
John?
I believe.
NYU, yeah, correct, yeah, and also too, like even Lotus. When I worked at Lotus on 14th Street, I mean that place in the mid '90s, that place was like the place to be. The first
Yeah.
4 years was off the
Oh,
chain
yeah.
there. That
Yep.
shit was crazy, and and then that's actually that club started the whole boom of the meatpacking district. There was
Oh,
nothing
down in that area.
There
Yeah.
was nothing down there when
Right.
Lotus opened. That was the only club
Right.
open down
the
there.
only club.
Beside, they had a couple of fucking S&M clubs with all the gigs
right,
and all
yeah,
that
a few,
shit.
yeah, a few crazy
Other
clubs.
than that, then after Lotus became popular, then they built the Gansevoort Hotel, because I always used to say that'd be great if they had a hotel down here. And sure, lo and behold, they
Sure,
built a
there it
hotel.
is.
So
right.
it's pretty
There
good.
was there was a really good restaurant down there back in the days. I don't know if it's still there. STK. We went there.
Still there. STK
STK. We went
Steakhouse.
there.
Yeah, still there.
Steakhouse.
Oh, we went there that night with everybody.
That was
That's a whole nother story.
that's a whole nother
That's a podcast for me, you, Frankie, Ronnie, and the crew. Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, the night. And what's funny is I stopped after that. So in other words, you kept doing it in the
Mhm.
city and went down to that area, right? So
Right.
the nightclub scene got really big down by the
Yes.
west
Well,
side. Because
they-
for a while, you only had a couple, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back. We're going to go back in time, right? I'm going to throw some club names out there. 1018s and Roxy.
Oh wow. Yeah. 1018. Yeah.
Yeah, 1018.
1018
we
was-
did a couple of times.
Yeah, I worked there quite a few times. Roxy, I worked there quite a few times. Well, let me take a second. It's going back. I have so many other clubs I can't remember.
No Roxy. I never did that.
There was a
But you did it.
club that I used to
You
work.
worked 1018 or no?
1018s.
Yeah, 1018. Yeah.
1018s. I did a couple of times. I did it when only a couple of big events when they did a hip hop party there. There was like 20 groups. I did.
Hmm.
and they did a breakdancing contest there, but it was the breakdancing contest that came back. It was in the 90s.
It wasn't the old.
Right,
Then they had clubs like Club Negril, the California Club that was over like on 47th off of Broadway, like by Times Square. There was so many clubs, and then they had I don't know if you remember, they used to do that party at Cafe Coleche. It was on a Sunday night. I forgot the theater. What the name of the club was? Expo. It was called Club Expo.
Okay. Yeah,
so
I've
they
heard
used
of it.
to
I
do-
never worked there.
Yeah,
I never worked there.
And it was funny because me being a big Stallone fan, I used to work there, and that's where they filmed Nighthawks, the shooting scene.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And they filmed it in there. And one day I'm working there, and I'm looking, and I'm like, man, this club looks so fucking familiar. And I look around, and like, oh God, it's a Snoop Dogg. It's just crazy. I look around, and then I just realize I just happened to watch the movie a couple of days after work, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's the same fucking
the
club
same
I'm working
place.
in, you know? And I'm like, wow, it's just crazy.
And so everybody knows out there, Frank is a huge fan of Sylvester Stallone in the movie Rocky. And I don't just mean like, like he likes the movie. No, he listen to me. Go and check out Frank on his Instagram page, and his it's Frank Sly, right?
Frank Sly 25 at
Frank
gmail.com.
At gmail.com. And let me tell you another thing, right? So we've worked in so many places, and Frank,
I can't even remember them all. That's for sure.
and Frank here has a ton of memorabilia. So he's taken a picture with every famous celebrity that he's ever come across, and I'm not even kidding, right? Am I bullshitting yet?
Not at all.
Right.
And I'm going back like all the way back to like I would say 89, 90.
He used to right? Listen to me. He's the only guy I know carried a camera with him to work every night.
Oh,
Well, because we dealt with such big celebrities, right?
Right.
Come on now.
Yes, all the time.
I want to go back for even
All
before we
the
came
time.
in. We started working in the city. You and I did L'Amour's, and we did a team party at L'Amour's that one time. And who
LL Cool J.
LL Cool J. So me and Rich worked for LL
Right. Basically, we worked that
one night. We worked that night, and we were hired just to
to
watch
make sure he
LL.
was all right.
And a funny,
And as sure
I
as
don't
shit,
mean to-
somebody was like,
Something happened. He didn't stay long. I was
Yeah.
upset about that though.
I know him. Tell him, look, just tell him, look over here. I was like, all right. And then I just put my hand on the guy, and the guy just
Yeah.
shoved my
He
hand
tried
away.
to get to
He shoved my
LL.
hand away and tried to get past me, and that was it. He was
That
off
was
the
it.
floor.
Yeah.
And
We got rid
LL
of him.
came over and said,
He's the old.
all right, put him on the floor. Don't hurt him. Because LL is not a small guy.
no, he's a big
He's
dude.
not.
Yeah, I met
Definitely
him-
not a
I
small
met him
guy.
quite a number of times.
And he was like really cool about it. He was like, yo, just don't hurt him. I'm like, I'm not looking to hurt him. I just don't want him to
And you
get
know what
to
the funny thing is? It's like, it's crazy because I remember, and I still have it. I have my very first photo that I took of a celebrity, which was D-Light. Remember that song?
Oh,
Groove is in the
yeah,
House?
yeah,
I did the
Groove
after
is in
party for her at the Copacabana. It was 1990. That was
Wow.
like one of my official first celebrity photo. And I just happened to have a camera on me. And back then I used to carry a disposable, the little
Sure. Oh,
freaking
sure.
wind up ones. And you get like 15 pictures out of it. So I said to myself, you know what? If I'm doing this and I'm in clubs and I'm watching them and it's this easy, why don't I just do it all the time?
Right.
And then it became like not an obsession, but it came like a hobby of mine.
Yeah,
Then I
something to
started
do.
taking pictures, documenting everything I did in the clubs. I started taking pictures with all the crews that I worked
Yep.
with, all the guys, each club, me standing by the door. But you know what? And then when I show these pictures to guys, all of us in the business, they wish they would have done
shit
that.
did something,
Yeah,
man.
but I said that to you last time, right? I said, yo, this is a great thing you're doing, Frank. Make sure you keep doing this. Keep documenting everything.
Yeah.
Because he's been in this business between you and Sterl. I know you, and you've been in the business the longest I know anybody.
Right.
I mean, consecutively, right? But I mean, besides, what's funny is my brother is too. But he works the local spot now.
Now I work the local spot last, 10 years. Feel like coming into work? So, I'm down to like maybe 6 times a year,
Right.
doing it every other month or something, or I do like the big party. They'll have like
Because remember,
a big band.
too,
and I'll
Rich,
come
back
and
in
do
the
it.
day, too, everything back then, all the guys that I grew up with, I grew up in Queens and Brooklyn, but everybody at
Right.
the clubs were Long Island. They all wanted to go to Long Island. Nobody
Right.
Back
wanted.
then.
So me and my brother used to pull everyone together and say, fuck Long Island.
Let's go to the
city.
Right.
I know people. I
Yeah.
work out there. Let's
Let's
go.
go. Yeah.
So I started trying to get groups of people to come out to the city. I'm like, fuck Long Island. Who wants to go to Spratz on the water?
Oh God.
Then I got to wait online, and then I wind up
we
climbing.
did.
Then I wind up climbing.
Didn't we get thrown out of there?
Not really.
Then I go to Sprouts
They
on the
tried.
water, and I wind up climbing over the fucking gate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like I never even bothered waiting online.
Before it was Before it was Spratz, it was called Channel 80.
Yes.
Yeah.
I worked there.
Yeah.
I worked there with my boy Eric. Eric, if you're out there,
Big
what's
shout
up,
out.
man? How you doing? How you
I think
been?
he's in Florida.
He was my partner for a while. Me and Eric used to go to all the spots. Whenever we wanted to work, whenever we didn't have any work, we just go.
Yep.
You get out, get on the train at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, hit a spot. You got any work tonight?
Yep.
Hit a spot. You got any work tonight?
We could do that back in the day.
Back in the day, you could do that.
See, but it's funny, like before, like even now, because if you have a steady venue that you work at, you're going to go to work every night.
Right.
Me and my brother were just talking about that yesterday, how we just used to be spontaneous and sporadic. Like if I would stay home and wait for a call. Frank, you want to go to work? Boom. I get dressed and go right into the city.
Yes.
It's like sometimes you were just on call.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
And
I
it's
remember
like
that.
you just get up and
Yeah,
go.
just get up and go.
You got paged because remember guys back then there was no cell phones.
Phone.
So you got
There was
fucking pager.
no
You had a
such
phone in the
thing as
house,
these.
and that was it.
No phones. Only down here in your pants.
It was just a phone in the house. That was it.
That's it. Just the landline, we call it.
Yeah.
Yo, and what was funny is that, and you made sure you had your beep on you, and you made sure
Oh,
you
yeah.
checked your answer machine when you got home, because you'd get that call either Thursday night or Friday night, be like, "Yo, you guys want to work?" And be like,
Working
"Fuck
tomorrow."
yeah!"
Yep.
I remember one time I was in the city and I kept getting paged. I don't know if it was Sterling calling me or one of the guys, but I remember waiting and this guy was on the fucking phone, and I told him I walked over and I said, "Dude, you want to get off the fucking phone? I gotta make a call. I gotta go to work. How long you gonna be? Don't rush me, man." I fucking grabbed him.
Don't
I
rush me.
said, "Get the fuck out of here. Get off the phone."
Oh,
Yo, back in the day, Frank and his brother, we called them the twins.
the twins. Yeah.
They were the twins. And they were fucking all filled with muscles, and they love to fight. No, and I don't mean just like to fight. They love to fight. But no, I digress. Like my thing is like we weren't out there punching people's faces in for no reason unless you asked.
Depending on what mood I was in when I went in.
Well, it was always the few people that asked for it. They actually
yeah.
said, "Yo, can you please punch me in the face?"
Yeah.
It happened a few times.
Okay. Yes.
Especially the Guidos, the fucking dicks that used to come in for, we call them Bridge and Tunnel Crew.
The Bridge
They
and
come
Tunnel
into
Crew,
New York
Guidos.
and they come into the city and they want to fucking act all like that.
Word, you can't mess with dudes from the boroughs. I'm sorry, you just can't. You
Yeah.
can't come into the city and mess with anybody from the borough. That's not happening. It's just wouldn't go down that way. But my brother got me started. But my father got my brother started in the business, and then my brother got me started in business because my first gig was the
it
underground.
was the underground. I took you there. I took you and Chris Fish.
Yep.
I took you guys down there, and you guys are like, "Yo, this place is big."
I don't know if you guys get asked this a lot because a lot of people tell me too, like younger guys that I meet or they want to work at clubs. They always like,
My
I don't
brother just hooked
understand.
somebody up.
I don't understand how
With Sterling.
you and your brother get all this work and you don't go on interviews. I said that's because it's called experience.
That's right.
Yep.
Experience and knowing
100%.
somebody. When
Yeah.
people know how you work and
Right.
know how you perform and how you do your job,
Mm,
there's
right.
no need to
There's no-
interview
not
or
anymore.
fill out any
No.
applications or any of that shit because it's going based on word of mouth.
Right.
Yep.
That's
Not
how this
anymore.
business is
No.
anyway.
Well, you had a reputation.
You had a reputation back then because otherwise you weren't able to work.
I mean, me and my brother sometimes
You
too.
had to know.
I used to get labeled. Me and my brothers like they used to call us like crazy because we used to.
Hotheads.
Yeah, but it wasn't the case. I mean, I didn't give it to anybody that didn't deserve it.
Yes.
At least twice.
At least twice.
Right.
And I didn't do it in the
Yeah, that was definitely
I didn't
one
bang
of
him
the
in the
things.
ass either.
Right.
I only
You
do it
can't
twice,
prove
not
that.
3 times.
You can't prove that. I got the younger picture.
But it was great for me when I was younger because I had these great, role models to look up to. Right, my brother was always bigger than me, and he was known. And then my pops, right? So my father was a legend. In this business, my father's a legend, and he's worked everywhere. And you're talking about somebody who's been in that business longer than I think there were nightclubs. My father started in the
Real
late
club.
60s, early 70s.
64,
Wow.
Did he start in
63,
Yes.
right before he got
before
into
he
the
won-
gloves.
Right, when after he won the gloves, he started working
He
in the nightclubs.
in Long Island.
Oh, Long Island was the
Right.
first one.
Remember
Oh,
Long
yeah,
Island
that's right.
because
Right.
He always talked about
He
that
always
place.
talked about
I keep
it.
forgetting the name of it.
But anyway, it was a club long time ago. My father got my brother in the business, but not only everybody knows my father's a legend in the boxing world too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fought George Foreman and everything. So
The first club I ever worked at was the Bay Club. So if you're from Brooklyn,
Yeah.
Bay Club.
you
Remember
know
Pastels?
the Bay Club.
Yes, of
Pastels.
course.
Yeah. I worked at the Bay
That was
Club.
the only club in Brooklyn that
You've
I
ever
ever
worked?
used to go. No,
Oh,
that I
went to.
ever used to
Went
go
to.
to. I used to call them boroughs clubs.
yeah,
I hate them. I was strictly a city guy. I didn't like Queens. I didn't like any. Only Queens place I went to was Lemoore East.
Lemoore East, yeah.
That's the only club I would go to because my friend Big Billy used to work there.
Okay.
I would go there, and then Pastels in Brooklyn. That was it. And maybe I'm trying to think of the club.
Shout out to Big Ronzo.
Ronzo.
Big Ronzo in the house. Ronzo.
Pastel regular.
Yeah, Pastel.
Our boy.
Yeah,
Big
Big
Rons. And shout out to Sterl too, even though he didn't make it today.
Yeah, I would have liked to.
Flake and fuck you. But anyway, Sterl, love you, because the idea that we wouldn't be in this business, well, none of us here sitting here without Sterl.
Not this long anyway. Would have done something else, I guess.
Sterling and John Steele, if you
John
guys remember
Steele.
John
Yeah.
Steele.
I remember John Steele, but I never worked for him. I
John
only
Steele
worked with
wasn't the
Sterl.
guy we.
But Sterling's the one that started me, but John Steele also gave me, he's the one that got me into Copa and a couple, he's the one that actually started me and Mike in the Latin scene.
Yeah.
And then it was just then on
Yes,
we
I
started
remember.
doing them all.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it was good. And, that's why I always say, I thank my brother because he kind of eased me into it. It was funny because that's how I got the gig at the Underground that night. There was a fight and it was short a guy. And I hate to say it, but I tuned somebody up.
Helped out.
And then that was it.
Assisted.
Yeah, I assisted. And then Sterl gave me
He threw him a few bucks that night.
That night, he said,
come back next week.
He's like, yo, here's a half night's pay, man. Thanks a lot. And then he put me on, and then that was it. I've worked ever since. I worked, and then I stayed tight with you, and we went to a couple of spots.
Yeah, we did a few spots. Back
in Brooklyn too.
87 is when I went to the Underground. 1987, we went there, and I didn't know the guy, but it so happened to be the night that Eric and I went there. Eric was my old partner, like I said. We went there that night. Sterling took our number. We went there actually to speak to John Steele.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
John Steele wasn't there. Sterling was there. Sterling took our numbers. That night, the guys, a couple of guys who were working, one of them got shot and killed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And his partner, who was with him, never came back. He said, I'm never coming back.
Right.
I'll never come back. We got high the next week. I mean, I got chills on me right now because
just thinking about it.
I mean, we got our friggin' job by default by somebody getting shot.
Yeah.
And anybody in their right mind, how do you go there?
Yeah.
How do you go back there and go, oh, shoot, I just took the dead guy's spot.
Yeah.
He just got shot outside last week.
Richie, by any chance, have any of you guys ever been seriously hurt?
Yeah.
Or anything?
I got back of my head split open, but
I've
other
been
than
stabbed
that, not really.
3 times.
Yeah.
Not in all in one night either.
Yeah. And what's funny?
Shot at like 5-6 times.
Well, that was the first experience I ever had getting shot. Was at the Underground.
Right.
It was all of us that night. It was me, you, Patty, Randy. There was a Batman. It was, remember? I'm bringing back names, right? Holy shit!
Wow.
Sterl, Patty, right? Patty. And we finally kicked everybody, got everybody out. There's a big fight at the end of the night. We closed them side doors, and as soon as we closed the side doors, we were all standing in front of them. The shots came right, pop, right through the door.
Yeah.
I never forget that. That was the first time I ever been like directly shot at. They tried to shoot us to kill us.
And the funny thing is, I remember one night.
That was in the 80s.
Yeah, in the Underground, they
89.
shot at the front door. And I'll never forget the first time I actually saw somebody assassinated right in front of my fucking face. I was working the door.
Was that Reggie?
No. It was a patron, a kid.
Oh.
A kid killing a kid.
Oh.
And it was because this guy was outside all night and he kept standing there for hours. And he was waiting for somebody, and I was doing the door, and it just so happened the kid that he probably was waiting for happened to just come up to me, and I was checking his ID, and he came behind him and shot him in the back of the head.
Wow.
And no joke, it's like that's all I remember. I thought he shot me because all the brain matter
and everything
all splattered all over my face, and I thought I got shot. And I went back and I saw him drop, and I was like, I was just in shock. I was like, I just stood there, and I was like, what the fuck? Then he ran through Union Square Park. A couple of guys chased him. They actually caught him. And if you guys remember, that Gumby hairstyle was in fashion, especially for the Spanish guys. And they caught him, and they brought him downstairs, and I had to go to court and everything. And I felt bad. The kid was only 16 years old.
That is crazy.
A 16-year-old killing a 16-year-old over a bullshit fucking the way they looked at each other 2 weeks ago at the Underground.
Right.
Yeah. And that's some crazy
like
shit.
1990.
It's crazy.
89,
it was 90.
Yeah. And that's crazy. Like, it's funny. We hear about, crazy things that happen now, and it's an unfortunate sense, but we dealt with that stuff on a regular basis.
Every weekend. Every time you went in, every night you went in,
You knew
we hoped
Yep.
might
that we were going home that night.
Yeah.
And 99% of us did. And we did it every
And I'll
night.
tell you the truth,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times too, I paired up with a lot of guys I work with. I was fucking scared because these guys are like fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so,
know, and
some
some
of
of
them
them walking around with guns.
guns,
I'm
knives.
like, dude,
they got,
I didn't sign up for that shit, man.
yeah, they
You know,
got
I'm not
all
here
kinds
to
of
kill
stuff on them.
anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We worked with some
we
pretty.
did. I mean, you carried something with you sometimes.
But you got to understand too that
You
back
know.
in those days, like now, there's nothing compares to the way the craziness was in the clubs back
Oh,
in
no.
the
no, no,
80s
not
and
even
90s,
close.
late 80s.
Well, the
all
amount
through
of
the
people,
90s.
the amount of
Yeah.
people. So, like, just
Right.
to give everybody out there an understanding, right? So, right? So, we worked. First big spot we worked was the underground. All three of us worked there at some point, and that
Right.
the capacity there, I think, was
Well, that wasn't the biggest. The biggest.
right.
was-
But wait,
Yeah.
I'm
That
getting
wasn't
to a
a big
point
one.
here. My
Yeah.
thing is the idea of that club was the biggest club I had ever seen at that point.
right, was that
Was
right.
that one? Was the underground?
And
It
there
big.
was on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There was anywhere from 25 to 3,500 people in that.
Right.
place.
Yeah.
So now I'll go even one better, right? So we worked at the Palladium,
Uh-huh.
and we all three of us had, but Frank and I were partners there for a little while.
Yeah.
And the
I used to
idea
grab my ass all the time.
all the time.
All the time.
Listen to me. I used to love to flip them off with the
But I
flashlight.
wanted you to put your finger up there. You never did.
bang, boom.
You never put your finger
And
up
I
there.
ain't telling nobody if I did. I'll tell you that much. I keep that shit a secret.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh no! Smell that! Smell that!
But anyway, so I remember, so we worked at the Palladium when it was the fucking hottest spot in all of New York City, right?
On
So
the planet.
on the planet, really, because
On the planet.
that's where we met most of our celebrities, between there and the limelight, right? But Frank, tell them how many thousands of people the Palladium would hold.
You know, it's funny because I'm always intrigued. I always love to know about the history of the building because I could tell right off the bat it looked like an old opera house.
was.
Which it was an
It
old
was,
opera
yes.
house. And I went upstairs and I was just impressed by just the like all the seats were because that's where I got all my future blowjobs and shit. But you know, I used to go up there
So
and
he's still waiting because they're future blowjobs.
Oh no,
I was anticipating what was to come. And I knew it was literally
Wait.
come.
you sick bastard.
But
Well,
yeah, but it was cool. Like,
Yeah, that place was
but when that
huge.
place used to get packed, I mean, to run to a fight,
Oh yeah.
especially if you're upstairs and you got to run to the Todd room downstairs.
down-
shit.
or
You
vice
know what
versa.
that was fucking
Yeah.
like to get
Or
down
vice
there?
versa.
no, as long as you didn't have to go down to the engine room.
Yeah, the engine room, forget it. There was a reason why they called it the engine room.
Let's just leave it.
But it
there.
was actually kind of cool because it was painted all red, and you had. I actually thought it was a cool room.
It was an amazing room
Yeah.
at the basement of the Palladium. They had a thing called the engine room there,
Yep.
and it really was an old engine room. Had
Yeah.
giant gears and had right from the opera house. Had
Yeah.
old like the things from the big organs and
Yeah.
pianos. It was absolutely amazing.
And they painted it all red.
Yep.
Like, it looked like a stone red engine
Yes.
room, but it was really cool.
Almost
It gave
like
it-
that.
yeah, almost like that.
Almost like that. Yep.
And it was funny because that place, I remember I worked in one of the record breaking nights they had there. They had, I think, I don't know, 7,000, 7,200 people
Yeah.
in that entire building.
Yeah. And
It
it
was
was only
gigantic.
allowed 4,900
Yeah.
max.
Yeah.
It's like, it was
Or something
gigantic.
like that. Yeah, that place was huge. I was just amazed on how not nobody, but how little people have come off the balcony.
Yeah. There was
You
so
know what I
many
mean? There was
balconies there.
so many balconies, so many open areas where people would just go.
You could toss somebody, right?
You just
Go off onto the dance floor.
Yeah, this guy's talking to my girl.
You remember when?
You know.
Remember when Biggie Smalls performed there?
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
one of his birthday.
Yeah.
He had the big throne. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
He had the throne in the
He
center
came
of
on.
the
He
stage.
came on the stage with his crown and
With
his
the
cane
crown.
and his cape and
Yeah.
all that shit.
And let me tell you something. That's to me. That's when rap music was
rap.
Yeah.
rap music. Like those guys came deep, and not only that, they had when they did a party when Biggie had his party there, he had so many other acts there that were there that night. So we met everybody. There was Biggie, P
Faith
Diddy.
Hill was there. I
Yes.
mean, everybody
Oh,
was there.
I mean, holy shit.
Faith Evans,
Yep.
excuse me. Now, that's country.
Our Brooklyn boy, Biggie Smalls. To me, like I said, I tell everybody. People ask me all the time, "Who's your favorite rapper?" He is my all-time favorite rapper of all time. Is Biggie Smalls. And he used to do party there. But the Palladium was just amazing. I also met Grace Jones. Came
I met
and
her
hung
there
out.
too.
Jones.
Yeah.
Right?
Grace Jones, yeah.
Oh, come on, wonderful. And
Prince.
Prince. We did
Oh,
the
he
party
know.
with Prince.
We did the party with Prince.
Let me get into it.
Oh, no,
And Lenny
Prince.
Kravitz
I'm going
was
to
here
tell you.
that night.
I'm going to tell you the thing about Prince. We were doing we all did it.
Yeah.
We all did the Prince party. Well, I wasn't told. I don't know if anybody else was told. We can't go into the main room while he was in there.
While he's rehearsing.
While he's in there rehearsing and stuff.
That's right.
So
I found out the hard way.
I did. Me too. Friggin' I go in
We all
there.
wanted to meet the guy.
Well, I didn't want to go in there and meet him. I wanted to go in there. I just wanted a goddamn bottle of
I
water.
wanted my fucking picture. He didn't give it to me.
I wanted a bottle of water. I went in and
And now he's gone. We can't get it.
I went behind the bar and I grabbed myself a bottle of water and walked out. That's all I did. He didn't. I didn't think he saw me.
Right.
But he obviously saw me.
He saw you.
I didn't even see him.
You don't miss Big Rich.
I didn't see him. But when I came back out, friggin' Roy Fisco's on the radio. Big Rich, come in. Meet me in the office. Yo, what the hell are you doing in the big room? Didn't we tell you? I said, no, nobody said nothing. He says, Prince saw your ass and he don't want you to be here working tonight. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Got weird.
Stop
his,
it, you
his
weirdo.
bodyguard was an asshole. Do you remember the big black bald guy?
Yeah.
That used to be, he was a fucking asshole. I remember one night, it's funny because he performed
Are you
2
kidding
nights,
me?
Friday and Saturday night, and he was coming out of a big pussy. The stage was set up like
Yeah,
a big
on the
pussy.
stage. It
On the
looked
stage.
like a
It was,
vagina.
it was a vagina.
It looked
And
like
he
a
would come
wet
out of the vagina. And I remember, I think it was Friday or Saturday, me and my brother we didn't eat anything, so we had gotten out of work early, so to get there. We got
So
there.
you went to eat the vagina?
No, that was later that night. So we got there, and me and my brother came into the main room while he was rehearsing. We sat in the corner. We're having, I think we were having heroes or some shit. So we're eating.
Chicken
So
colored
then the
palms.
bouncer comes walking over, the asshole that he was, and he goes, "Yo, you guys need to get the fuck out of here." I'm like, "Dude, fuck you, first of all. Number one, don't talk to me like that. I work here, not you." And then I see Prince on the stage, and then he's storming off like he got mad. I'm like, "Oh shit, I don't think we're supposed to be here, Mike."
Right.
Mike was like, "Oh fuck him, he didn't give us a picture. Fuck him."
That's it.
So then we finished, and then we had to get up and go, and then we wound up doing a concert that night, and Friday and Saturday, and that was it. And I've ran into Prince so many times, multiple times, Expo, this and that, and I'll tell you the truth, he's always been an asshole, always been.
Right.
I
There
mean,
you
the
go,
guy's talented. But as far as like treating his fan, and I'm not just saying that because he didn't give me a picture.
Right.
I saw the way he treated his
other
fan.
people,
He was just an asshole. He really was.
I had this weird, so we worked, I wound up staying that night, of course. So we wound up, me and Mr. Hugh Thompson, Manny, may you rest in peace.
Rest in
He's
peace,
up
man.
on our wall. That was my partner, Palladium. I worked with Manny for
I remember
16
Manny.
years. He is my
remember.
partner. I love that man to death, and I miss you very much. But so we worked the VIP. So we worked the VIP with Prince when he performed that night, and Lenny Kravitz was there,
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
great. And I had a different experience, right? So the different experience was
Ask him for a picture, though. You'll see the experience you get. Exactly the same I had.
The experience.
I didn't want any pictures, thank God. But what happened was Lenny Kravitz was really cool, right? So we
Yes.
chatted with him for a few minutes. Right? Amazing musician too, and it was funny because he did the debut at the Palladium for that song "Sexy Motherfucker." That was the whole idea. So we worked the Michael Todd room where his thing was, his little entourage.
I used to
was
like
set.
working up there.
It was cool.
That's where all the big, like
All the
the
big
extra events
celebrities.
were.
Yeah, we always did that.
You always wanted to work the mic, and everybody used to make trips up to the Michael Todd room during the night because there was always celebrities in there.
Until fucking Michael Alec used to go up there to fucking, the party boys,
Yeah.
the fucking, oh my God. He used to come up there with all his fucking flaming homos.
Listen to me.
Oh.
The idea is the fact that he had this idea that he was the shit. So like wherever he was, he didn't want people that worked in the club around him.
Right.
And I didn't like that. Like that to me was just some horse shit. Like, oh what? We could work with you, but you don't want to be seen with us. That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
We save your ass every week, but
That don't count.
my idea with Prince was the fact that he didn't want anybody to look at him. And I just found it really strange that if that was the case, when we set up the VIP area for you, why did you put sheer curtains up?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can see through the curtains and you don't want people looking at you, you kind of worked against yourself there, partner.
Right.
That's what struck me just weird about it.
But let me perform in front of 60,000 people
Right.
in
And
stadiums and stuff.
I didn't
but
understand
don't look
why
at
he didn't want anybody looking at him. You're a very talented gentleman, and people love your music. So, why be so eccentric? I didn't get it.
Another scenario, I worked one night at an expo, and Prince was in the VIP, and now again, he didn't even like nobody taking pictures of him, period. So this kid ran up, and then later I found out it was actually the club photographer. So that's why I wasn't. This is what happened. He took the picture. Now Prince turns around to me and tells me, "Oh, you got to get that guy. You got to get that guy." And I told him, I said, "You know what? Fuck you. I don't work for you. I work for the club."
There you go.
And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I remember you and the way you treated me.
Right.
I said, "There's your bodyguard right there. You go tell him to chase the dude." So then he ran through the crowd and he came back and he was like, "How come you didn't help me?" I'm like, so then I go to the crowd and then I find out that the guy's actually the club photographer, and he took a picture. And that's why he disappeared, because he must have ran downstairs, and that's the way it was set up for.
Yeah.
Hey, Yahtzee.
Yahtzee.
We got a spill in aisle 7. Spill, look
shit.
behind you, Rich. Grab the paper
I
towel
put it on his bifocal.
and on the glass. That's how you know we're really podcasting here and everything is live. Because no, we need more than that. Yeah.
See, I'm talking about Prince. I'm ready to kill something.
You see what happened? He got all nervous and shit. Fucking Frank.
But you know, the stories just keep coming, man. Because I'll tell you, I got it between the three of us, man. We got
Oh my
so much
goodness.
shit to tell.
We couldn't even tell you how many years we haven't been in the nightclub business combined. I think it makes us too old. That's what I think. I think
No,
it just
actually
makes us too
better.
old.
We're older, but we're just better.
I got 30.
Like fine wine. Hold on a second, folks. I'm going to check, make sure my equipment isn't short circuit in here. Hold on.
34 years.
Huh?
34
34 what?
years.
Of what?
Bouncing.
You?
16. I'm 50.
Yeah. It's me 17 till 53. Yeah, so it's a long time, man. You right down there, Shannon?
I'm back.
All right, good.
Everybody happy now?
Go. We didn't lose him.
Everybody happy now?
He's back in action. But
I'm really happy you put the fan on down there now. Like, almost swamp ass.
No, it's not hot in here.
No, it's not.
it's actually nice in here.
It was a damn joke. Ha ha.
My brother got jokes.
He's got the
jokes.
Jokester.
So that's what I said. We have had a ton of experiences in the nightclub business. We've seen different types of music come in and out, like Frank was saying, like the start of when the hip hop world kind of exploded, and the fact that hip hop had hit mainstream at that point, and things went berserk, right?
Really berserk. I'll tell you about should I say, a 4-day bender or a 4-day weekend. Studio 54 reopened.
Oh, do you hear that, folks?
In
Studio
95, 90.
But remember, they
4.
reopened. But because I worked there too, but they reopened under it was when I worked there. They reopened, and that's another story I wanted to tell you. I've never been in the actual venue of Studio 54 to actually work there.
Yeah.
I got there actually an hour before anything, just so I can walk the entire building and just take pictures. And of course, you know, I had to do my poses by the bar and the staircase.
Right.
And all
That's
that.
what's up
Like,
right
it was
there.
fucking.
Frank is famous for the booty pose.
Yeah.
I had my fucking Rocky G-string on.
But the place is amazing.
It was just crazy to be there, and I was like, I always wanted to work there, and they opened up as the new Ritz, they called it.
Right.
The new
This
Ritz.
is way before that. So when we're saying that hip hop exploded, I did a 4 days. I'm sorry, it's not 4 days, but it happened over 4 days. It was Thursday. No, it was Wednesday, no Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Public Enemy.
Oh
yeah.
Nah, that was
3 days.
greatest.
There was 50 bouncers. 50.
That's it?
For Thursday. Friday and Saturday was 100 of us.
Yeah.
100 guys.
Yep.
I'll never forget, because I was actually one of the 2 times I was scared for my life while working.
Yeah.
There was 2 times at every single night I ever bounced. 2 nights I was scared for my life. That was one of them. They have an overpass. There's a catwalk. That's where they performed.
Right.
Underneath that, there was 20 of us bouncers, at least 20 of us, standing across. Chuck D proceeds to tell everybody in the crowd, about how he doesn't like anybody who's not black. The crowd is coming towards us. The bouncers I'm with, I mean, we're mixed, but there's got to be 15 white guys.
Mm.
And, you know, I mean, it's all mixed. You got white, black, Puerto Rican. I mean, it was everybody. But they came at us like they wanted us.
Mm-hmm.
We broke the club record that night. We had over 5,000 people in there.
All right, I believe it.
It was insane at Studio 54. It was insane. While he's preaching and Flavor Flav is probably high as a kite and jumping off the stage and people were throwing him back on and it was 20 feet in the air. It was insane. It was one of the only nights I was scared for my life. They came at us like they wanted us. We had to go into the crowd. I mean, we went into the crowd and just pushed them back because they were coming at us. We just pushed them back. Anybody who got close enough got hit, you know. And if you aggressive at all, you got hit. And that's it. We were picking bodies up for the next half hour.
Yeah,
just picking up bodies because you had to. There was no two ways about it. We were in there, and they were going to get us, and we were going to get them before they got us.
Yo, we've been through some melees. I remember the night at the Palladium when they had the New York City Music Conference.
Oh yeah, the conference.
And they had a bunch of bands performing that night, and that was probably one of the nights that I was probably scared the most too, because we set up. They had the mosh pit outside. And we set up the 4-foot wall in front of the stage because
the riot wall.
Yeah, because the riot wall had to go up because they were just moshing so aggressive at one point that there was no other way. Then they finally broke the wall down, and there was, I don't know, on that night there may have been close to 100 of us at least. On any given night at the tunnel too, it was 100 plus bouncers.
That's why half the time too, you work with guys and they're like. Half of them you didn't even know them because it's like you go you go right into work and you go to your post, you get picked where you're going to be posted, and that's it. You don't get to really unless you get there early and you start. But then again, you got so many guys you don't know.
You don't know everybody. There's been plenty of times.
Well, the regulars. Well, that's how it was, right? So you went to the club.
Guys that you know,
right? So we were always part of the regular crew, right? So there was always probably about 20 of us that were regulars, and then when you had the events, you always had extra guys. You always extra heads.
That was me.
So, you know, guys get put on and you don't know them. So that's why that's why when people say, yo, what's his name worked at that club? And you don't know him. I go, no, I don't.
Right.
You know, and was the thing. If you weren't a regular.
Right. You weren't there every weekend.
If you weren't there every weekend, like when we worked there, between the three of us, I worked on and off at Peter Gation for 10, 11 years.
Right.
You know,
and the funny thing is,
but I only did it for like 5. Then I came back home.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I mean, I did the city scene before you guys did it.
Yep.
Just for the simple fact that that's what I did.
Yep.
I did it from 86 to 90. I want to say 93, 94.
Right.
I did the city all the time. We were doing it all the time. We did the underground, did the Palladium, did the Limelight, the Tunnel, Emerald City, B Square, friggin', you know, whatever place we were doing. I did that, but then I pulled back.
And then you stayed in Brooklyn.
I stayed in Brooklyn because I was getting the same money without having to hustle.
Yeah, exactly. And why would you?
I was getting the same money.
Then I used to look at it too, like why would you?
Why would you? I didn't have to travel.
Right, exactly. That's the point.
You know, because I wasn't lucky enough to work the door like some guys.
Yeah. I like working at the
right, but I wasn't lucky enough. Once in a while, I did because if you worked the door, you made a few extra bucks.
That was my deal with Sterling at Tunnel, right?
Yeah, so I'm just saying you did whatever it was.
Yeah,
but I didn't get that chance because when you were this big, you weren't pretty enough to work the door, or you weren't whatever. You weren't door material.
Shout out to all the
right. You weren't door material. I wasn't door material. Right. I was the guy in the place going, yo, there's a fight, and who was standing behind me? 5 other bouncers because I was the biggest motherfucker running through the crowd, get everybody to get out of the way.
Word up, like a freight train.
That's why. So I didn't get to work the door to make the extra money.
Man, what hit me? F train, son.
Right.
I was locked up. What the fuck hit me? F train, son.
That was one of the good things. Sturl used to let me. So on Sundays when I would work Mecca, Sturl would let me work outside. I would ask him for 2 hours out by the front door because there'd be, 600 people waiting online to get in there.
Right.
And as soon as I'd start walking up and down the line, everybody thought I was the boss. They were like, yo, boss man.
You're the boss.
Can you come over? And I'm like, yeah, how can I help
you? You got to bow the boss.
I remember one time.
And they'd be like, how much? And I'd be like, listen, how many guys you got there? 5 guys. All right, give me $150. And then I walk them up to the front. I'm like, yo, this is my cousin, this is my uncle, this is my sister,
Right.
this is my brother.
And they're in from Jersey.
And just, yeah, they're just, and then I would they still have to pay to get in,
Right.
but I could walk them to the front of the door. So that's why we say, right? Take care of your doorman, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always.
Especially
But,
if there's a line.
but now I told you it's totally different now, because now when you work at a club, unless you're at a big club, you don't run the door.
No.
The guest, the doorman. We
Right.
were the doorman.
Right,
back
yes.
then.
We
used to
now there is a doorman.
Doorman.
We're just security.
Yes.
Right.
So the doorman actually had, but they give him so much. They give that guy so much power and so much
Yeah.
leeway. Like, and then he decides who's going to get what. If like it's all bullshit, man.
Yeah.
It's totally changed.
But let me tell you something. Back in the day, we worked at the first spots in the city that did the pick.
Did the picking.
Did
Right.
the picking.
Yeah.
We worked the Limelight and the Palladium and the Tunnel and all those clubs. You had to get picked
You had
to
to
get
be
in.
picked to
You
get in.
remember Kenny Ken?
Yeah. Oh
Shit.
god.
Come on.
I got my story with Kenny.
But
His eyes just rolled. If you guys didn't see that out there, Frankie's eyes just rolled in the back of his head.
But what's funny is that you're talking about pioneers
Yeah,
of the
he's-
nightclub
Yeah.
business. Like, here's a guy who came on the scene when he did Limelight. Now, you're talking about a man back then was so different, cross-dress, gay,
Ugly.
and did everything that was just totally out of the norm, right?
Yeah, he
So
did, yeah.
he wanted everybody to know who he was and what he was about, and he loved the nightclub scene and he loved that business. And if he picked you to get into that club,
Right.
you were the shit.
Right.
And believe me, like, people have made newspaper articles about this man,
guy,
right?
Yep.
Yep.
So the idea of getting picked to get into one of these clubs that we worked in back in the day,
Yeah.
that was really, really like a trend-setting thing, like we worked in the first clubs where that happened.
And then you had enough complainers to complain, going, "Well, how come I can't get into the club? How come I can't get into the club?" And that was the big thing. The
But
thing
it
was that you got to be picked to get in the club. I don't have to let you in.
But it was so
because
funny
you're
because
online.
sometimes Kenny was so blunt, because I worked with him a few times, and then once I got into that altercation with him at the Copa, it's just so funny because I don't even want to get into that, but it was funny. I remember after the Copa,
But that was the shift in power.
huh?
That was the shift in power for
Right.
for security, for not even security, for bouncers. The way we worked the door back in the day is that the
Right.
guys, the bouncers ran the door.
And I
That's the
used
way
to
it
tell
was.
Kenny, when I was working with him, and I used to tell him all the time when we used to do the Suzanne Bosch parties on Sunday when I would work at the Copa with him. I'm like, I used to turn around and tell him, you don't tell me what to do. You're not my boss. I run the show, not you. You just pick and you look ugly. That's it. You just pick and you just do what
Yeah,
you
sure
got to
he
do. You
enjoyed
don't tell
that.
me what to do.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know how many times we saved their asses? Come on.
listen, come on. You know how many
Right.
doormen I protect?
Doormen, right.
Because we protect them.
Right.
Because
Yes.
sometimes
And
they,
little-
literally our
that-
job.
That's what they forget.
and
When
sometimes
the
too,
guy
they're-
you didn't pick, or the girl, or the couple, or somebody you didn't pick, gets mad enough, and they throw a rock at you, or the bottle,
Or they
or whatever
lunge
the
at
hell at you, or their body.
Yep.
Where do you go?
one time I
You
worked
turn to us.
when I
Yeah.
worked at
Oh,
Crowbar.
every time.
When I worked at Pink Elephant, it was adjacent to Crowbar. It was the same club. It was two clubs in one building, and the doorman got stupid with this guy, and I don't know. He thought he was hot because he had us backing up this and that.
Sure.
So as the club closed, he left the club. He got in a cab. The guy followed him and waited for him. As soon as he got one into his doorway, the guy beat the living shit out of him. Lifeless. The guy was in a hospital for
horrible.
like 3 weeks. The doorman,
Huh.
he's lucky he didn't
Horrible.
die. That guy, that's how bad that guy wanted to kick the shit out of him.
But that's how crazy it was back in the day,
Yeah.
right? Because you listen,
Because you degrade somebody
word up.
in front of 500
You know,
500 people.
People standing outside
Standing
waiting
there.
to get in.
Right.
It was horrible. I mean, but yo, the shit that people would do to get into the club.
Oh
though.
yeah,
Come on now.
wigs.
It was ridiculous.
What kind of makeup they make? But they put light bulbs on.
But it was funny. Like, that was the thing. It was
Right.
such a scene in New York City. The nightclub scene was
Yes,
such
the
a scene.
Freakier you look, the
You-
better off you were getting in
And
the
not
club.
only that, you wanted to be known for that.
Right.
Like, how many
Right.
people wanted to be known for that? Look, how many movies and documentaries have they made on
Made
this
on it.
already?
Oh man,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, the nightclub scene was just absolutely
Yes.
insanity.
That's why like a lot of people too, that's why they don't understand that the nightlife is it always catches everybody's fascination, because like it's like you can you escape from the real world. You
Yes,
go at night,
yes.
you drink, you meet girls, you get
Right,
fucked up.
right. Or
Whatever
meeting
happens,
guys,
have sex.
whatever-
This is
whatever
shit
it was.
that like
Yep.
it's like almost like when you're living it that night and you're out with your friends, it's like a dream. You
It
know,
is,
like, oh my
yeah.
God. Then you wake up in reality, you got to go back to
I
work
gotta
the
go
next
back to
day.
work Monday.
Right.
But yeah, but, you know, it's supposed to be like a fantasy.
That's the
Yes.
whole idea of the nightlife, right? We all do a little, we drink,
Right, you do a little
a
drink,
little bit
maybe
of
something,
drugs.
whatever your pleasure is. And then you know
Yep.
what? On the weekend, if that's what you felt like doing, that's what you did, man.
Yo, I got a story. So, Palladium every Saturday night. There'd be a Japanese fellow used to come in the 13th Street entrance, and he'd come in. He's a businessman, big time, probably tycoon, millionaire, whatever, back in the day. And he knew, I guess, some of the promoters or whatever at the Palladium, and we would let him in on 13th Street. And he would come in, and he'd come in from work. He'd have his attaché case because that's what they carried back then. He had a suit, you know, glasses, very proper, very, you know, you could see conservative and whatnot. They had the dressing rooms downstairs in the Palladium, right? Remember where all the acts used to change and hang out. So he would go down there and change, and we'd put on, like, you know, shorts and fishnet stockings and a mesh shirt. And he would go out on the dance floor, and I shit you not, he would dance all night. Just dance. And then come 1 o'clock in the morning, go back downstairs. We let him down the VIP thing, boom, go downstairs, change back into a suit. Off he
Never
would
know,
go.
right? Yeah.
Every Saturday.
Clark
Every
Kent and
single
Superman.
Saturday. And that was his thing.
Except for he was more like Mr. Lee and Hello Kitty.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
the
right.
cross
Just like
between
that, right.
Mr. Lee.
But it goes to show
And-
you, maybe
and
he had a
Hello
lot of
Kitty.
money, and maybe he just didn't want anybody to see him, or maybe he didn't want to be bothered. He
He
just
didn't
wanted
want
to
to
have
be
a good
bothered.
time, and that's it.
Yo, this is my time, man. You go out there, just fuck it up.
And that was the thing. Like,
Get crazy and go back to him, you know,
And I
be
used
a
to-
guy.
I used to die laughing when I used to. You always especially the Palladium, always had those few people, like the old people that would come.
yes.
Like I remember in the Palladium, they
Yeah,
used to
we
be
had
like,
that old couple that used to come in all the time.
And then there used to be an 80-year-old man. He used to
Yes.
come, and he used to just like
Yep.
do all of this weird shit on the floor, but everyone just got a kick out of him. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
Right.
an 80-year-old man going, still dancing and
Yes,
dance
still
with the
going.
girls. and-
Yes.
but you know,
Oh,
people
and the
love
girls
that
loved
stuff.
it, right? And the girls loved it. They would go over to him and shit.
Dance
all the
with
time.
him and everything.
Dance with
and-
him all the time. We had a couple like that in Brooklyn.
Yep,
It was
Bay
an
Ridge.
old, you had an older couple in Bay Ridge. They used to come by. I don't quite remember. I think his name might have been Dominic.
I don't even remember. But I know what you're talking about.
Right. But they would come in and they would dance all night.
All night.
Winter, summer, spring, or fall, man.
Yep.
Dancing. I mean, dripping wet. Just dancing. But everybody knew them. They never paid to get in. They
Yep.
always hung out, and
Yep.
the girls loved to dance with the older guy, and the guys would dance with the lady, and it was a great time. They used to hang out. Sometimes they would hang out like all night.
Yeah, all night. Yeah.
I mean, after everybody left, because you would never ask them to leave.
Yep.
Right.
You would go, I'm not asking them to leave. You know,
Yeah.
it's like asking my mom to leave or your grandparent. You're like, oh, no, let them hang out.
That was
And
that
they
was
would hang out all night sometimes.
that was one of the hardest parts of the night too, right? When we used to shut down. The end of the
Getting
night.
everybody out
Oh yeah,
because everybody's
yeah.
fucked
So
up.
all you
Nobody wants to
douchebags
leave.
who friggin' says, "Oh, I know this one. Don't throw me out. I'm hanging out with this one." Or I'm going to finish my drink. I'm going to finish my drink. Shut up and get out.
And I used to love it too because every club had their closing song.
Yes.
Whether it's New York, or just something.
Yeah,
They
shuffle
always
off the Buffalo,
yeah,
whatever.
they always had their closing song. And it was funny. And then I walk around and they would be like, "Oh, be nice to them, be polite." I'm like, "All right." Then I walk up to
Yeah.
the guys, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, let's go.
I'm like, I said, "Was that
Get out.
polite enough?"
Right?
So listen,
Gotta go.
What's the most famous cliche saying, right, in the nightclub business? You ain't gotta go
Home,
home, but you
gotta
can't.
leave.
Yeah.
You gotta leave here.
Right? You can't stay
You
here.
can't stay here.
The end of the night, folks. That was always the best part. I really look forward to going to work at night.
Yeah, it was an adventure for sure.
I met a bunch of great guys doing it.
Right. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah. Got
And you know what? You make money. It wasn't a lot of money, but
Mm.
to us back then, especially when you're younger, whether you get paid $100,
Yep.
Yeah.
$80, $100 cash, and then
Yep.
you know when you're fucking
Oh,
17 years old, that's good money.
That's right.
Word.
Then you're in a nightclub. You're in the hottest club in the city.
The hottest clubs.
Then
Didn't pay to get
once you work there, you get a little
Enough,
pull.
you get
You
a
get
little-
your friends in.
Right.
You get your
Get a
girl,
couple of
whatever.
drink tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know it's
Hell
like
yeah.
it's
Hang
kind of
out.
cool, bro.
Yo, you think I can get a couple drink tickets for my friends?
Yeah.
I remember
I
all
would give
the
you
time.
5. He'd give
Yeah.
you 5, and he'd be like, I ain't got no fucking friends coming tonight.
it's so funny. I remember when I always used to go when I was in a Palladium, when I in the undergrounds. I always
Oh, and
used
big
to-
shout out to Mark Murray too.
Oh, yeah.
That,
Mark
that
Murray.
motherfucker. You know, it's funny, right? That motherfucker. But what's funny is that I ran into Mark Murray later on when I was going to culinary school. He was the head of the engineering department in my culinary school. It's funny.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But Mark Murray used to hook us up with drink tickets. We could
all
always
the time.
scare a couple extra out of them too.
Oh yeah.
Like, yo,
Especially at
I
midnight.
gave you guys tickets right. I'm like, yo, so give us some fucking more.
Right.
Like when I worked in the underground, Bad Jones
Here,
used to give
drink
me
this.
everything.
Give us some more.
Bad Jones used to give me a stack of drink tickets, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And then he always used to ask me, "I'm like, what are you doing at the end of the night?" I'm like, looking at him, like, "What the fuck are you asking me that for?" I'm not.
Maybe.
I thought he was gay, but I could never.
Well, he saw the Gatorade in your pocket.
Listen,
I think he did.
but you know what the thing with him was? He always wanted to hang out. Like you said, he never wanted to go home.
Yeah, he
Like,
always.
he
Yeah,
always
hang
wanted to
out
go
back,
hang out
yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, he was
know?
always going to the after hours. I'm going.
And then
But he had an entourage with him.
You always did. Always had a
he
lot of
always,
people.
and it's
15
funny. At
people.
one point, he would ask, and he always wanted me and my brother to stay. I did a couple events with him, and he paid me and everything, but then he would want me to hang out late at night, and I'm like, dude, I gotta go, man. I gotta go to work, and I'm
Shit, I
like, I
gotta
don't know
go,
what
man.
your intentions are here, but
Right.
I need to go. I said, if you want to get your little dick sucked, it ain't happening.
Right. Don't look this way.
I said, I'm sure you may want to, but it
Yeah,
ain't
well, it ain't
happening
happening here, brother.
Not
You're not getting this a-hole.
Oh no.
here. But I'm telling you, we had
Speaking
a
of the
lot of
underground and getting your dick sucked.
fun.
Oh, you want to go into that?
What, the
my
cage?
God.
In the
Oh,
cage.
No, don't even start.
There was a
get
lot
me-
of crazy stuff.
Honestly, if you want to start with that, don't.
The-
even
the light
start.
guy,
I can
Eric?
tell you fucking stories.
You can't start.
We had a lot of fun there.
That was fun.
That's probably where we met a lot of very usual and unusual people. Like
Yes.
I said, Kenny Ken,
You can.
a lot of guys we work with. So look, some famous people came out of some of the night. Vin Diesel worked at the tunnel,
Yes.
right? So we know Dolph Lundgren,
Jazz Parliamentary too, as
Yep.
well. He was
Jazz.
a doorman at the Limelight.
There you go.
There you go.
Chaz,
Well,
big
the,
shout
the
out.
original guy to make it as a bouncer, Mr. T.
Yeah, Mr. T.
Yep.
Another one. I had a show for a little while with Big Rich on it.
Big Shannon.
But it's
A little
funny.
something.
We met a lot of celebrities, but to me, my favorite part of that business has always been the idea of watching people unwind. That
Right.
we were talking about that before with the gentleman that used to come there. For me, the nightclub life meant it allowed a lot of us to be the people we really wanted to be, right? So
Easy.
And it was cool too because you watch like Shannon said, you watch people unwind, but then it's kind of like I used to be happy. Like I used to look at these
Yeah.
people and I used to be in a good mood
Sure.
because I like to see people having a good time.
yes.
And that would make me feel good because I'm like, and then especially too when the place is pumping, everyone's having a good
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Nobody's
You
starting
can't help but
shit.
get
And
the adrenaline
it's just
going.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, it was a great feeling. It's still to this day when I see it, I love to see people just have a good time. You
Yeah.
know,
I worked in what other spots have you worked in besides clubs? Like doing security?
Well, the local bar thing
Yeah.
was always lucrative for me in the neighborhoods in Brooklyn.
Rattle
And
off,
it
rattle off some of the names, right? Because you've worked in a ton of spots in Brooklyn.
Wow. I don't even know where to start. But we did Bay Ridge a little bit. We did T-Birds. You
Yep.
did
Yeah, I
like
remember that.
Yep.
Pastels.
Well, I ran T-Birds, remember?
Right.
That was a good spot for me. I like T-Birds.
Right. And some of the weird
Somewhat. I
somewhat
met my ex-wife in
Yes.
T-Birds.
We're
We're not even going in that
weirder places.
direction.
The weirder places that you don't think like there would be a bouncer at. Like I
Yes,
bounced at
tell everybody.
diners.
That's what's up right
At the
there.
diners.
Yep.
Because in your local places, whether it be Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, even in Manhattan, the spots that were open to go eat,
Well, the diner.
right, the diner. Well,
It was
there
one of the
wasn't
original
always a
spots.
diner. Sometimes it was, a luncheonette or whatever it was, because you would get out of the club at 4:00 in the morning.
you're fucking wasted.
You're
Yep.
wasted. And even for us who worked there, the people are leaving at 4:30. We're not getting out of there till 5:30.
Yep.
By the time you get paid, everybody's out. And
Yep.
who threw up in the
7 o'clock
bathroom
in the
and
morning already by the time.
whatever. Right. So
Yeah, remember?
so there's places
I'm
that
glad
are
I-
opening up for breakfast while you're getting out. So that's where you go eat, because I just worked the whole shift. I just worked 6-7 hours.
Yep.
We'd go out there and go, I bounced at diners.
Yep.
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 the Vegas Diner in Brooklyn, the Floridian Diner in Brooklyn.
We did
Funny
that with
thing is-
Pops.
I've been. It's funny
You
too,
do,
Rich,
man.
because I was approached a few times, like Queens diners, like the T-Bone Diner, and like a few places where they
Yeah.
wanted me, and I was like, "That's not my shtick, man. I don't do shit like that, man." But and I've been. That's why
And the hours are weird, though.
the hours are weird,
I
but
couldn't
that's
do that.
why
You don't start till midnight.
me and my brother, for many years, we've always been picky. You know, of course, you get out of work, you want to go have a nice breakfast and then go home.
Right.
I've always been picky about certain places that I go to, where I don't go to diners where I know everybody fucking goes. to.
Everybody goes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what I do is I go off the beaten path. Like I'll go T-Bone once in a while, but if I got there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, that whole crowd was gone already.
Mm.
But I've been to
Right.
diners
For the
where
most
I'm
part.
like, I'm sitting there and I turn around and they're all fucking brawling.
It's the
Yeah.
All of them are brawling. I got to
Yeah.
get up and I got to leave my food there, not pay the check and just walk out because they're all fucking throwing chairs at each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or
But
catch up.
that's why you need a security
Yeah.
officer.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny, right? And that's where our father
Ended his-
ended
right.
his bouncing
Ended his
career
bouncing career.
at the Floridian Diner,
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Where's that? The Florida? Is that
Flatbush
Flatbush?
Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Flatbush.
Flatbush
Brooklyn.
in Brooklyn.
So big shout out to Floridian Diner.
Yep.
That's
Boy,
where Pops
Steve.
ended his
Steve
ended
Demo.
his bouncing career at the diner,
Right.
and we used
And
to go there afterwards.
At
Always.
a couple of times. Actually, he worked a couple of times with me after the diner.
Oh,
I
at the
dragged him over
Tamaqua.
to the Tamaqua, the Cherubis.
Yep.
Thank you guys, especially Paulie.
Uh,
Thank you guys for all that good time. And
yeah, big shout
what
out
you
to the
guys-
Tamaqua.
You guys always were
Garrison
nice
Beach.
to us.
Garrison Beach staple. Yeah, it's a bar. It's been there since my father was.
It's been there before. That was like a Dutch church in 1902. They made it,
Yeah,
and my father was
That's
born
where
and
he-
raised there.
yeah.
So
in
you know,
Garrison Beach, Brooklyn. So that bar's been there, and that we held
Forever.
Pop's memorial there, which was nice.
which was cool.
But that's another spot, right? So that's probably like when we talk about these different locations. I bet that place never needed bouncers when they first opened.
Right now, when they first opened, when the club scene
When the club scene got big.
got big in the 90s,
Yep.
he was doing not a traditional club thing. He was doing just bands, like
Yeah.
local bands,
Well,
cover bands.
I was going to tell you too. Technically, the club scene has been big. Like, see, like
the club
I
scene's
don't know
since the
about you
50s.
guys, but I've always been intrigued by old school clubs. Like
right.
you're talking about, like the Stork Club, like stuff that. There's a guy that I did research on. His name, I don't know if you guys know the name. His name is Toot Shore. Look him up. Toot Shore, his name was. And I came across this guy because he used to own a steakhouse called Toot Shore Steakhouse. It was right around the corner from Rockefeller, Radio City Music Hall. So I found out who this guy was, and I just happened to do it because his granddaughter worked for Mayor Bloomberg, and his granddaughter she came about and she actually wrote a book about him. She didn't even know that was her grandfather. So I found
Wow.
out, and then I started doing my own research, and it was crazy. Toot Shore started off as a bouncer. He worked all the major clubs in New York City. He's from Philadelphia, Jewish guy from Philly.
Oh, wow.
Tough guy, big guy. Look him up. I'll tell you. Toot
I'm
Shore.
good now.
And he started off in New York. He's from Philly, started in New York, worked in all the big clubs, Copacabana, Stork Club, any big club.
Oh,
And-
back then there was Roseland. I worked Roseland.
That's way before that, way before that.
No,
And
Roseland has been around since like 1950.
I know, but I'm talking about like these, like El Morocco. He used to do like all these big clubs. So I guess you know how it is. He was very good with his mouth. He knew how to talk to people.
Right.
I guess he met the right type of people and he got the funding. He opened up a steakhouse. Long before you know it, it was the talk of the town. The magic. He was best friends with Jackie Gleason. Like all these guys. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like
And he started as a bouncer.
as a bouncer, he started as a bouncer. That's what caught my interest about the whole story. He was a bouncer. He used
Wow.
he used to like, and it was crazy how like. And if you see pictures of him, just a regular, he looked like he was a boxer.
Yeah.
He looked like one of those guys like Max Schmeling. Like
Yeah,
one of those
yeah,
guys
yeah,
with
yeah,
big-
yeah.
Those guys,
like
yeah.
Max Schmeling guys.
Yeah, with the square jaw.
Yeah, like
yeah.
a big nose. But he made the right connections. And unfortunately, like he died broke. He lost
Wow.
all his money from tax evasion and all
Wow.
that. But at one point, he was the shit. And then he opened 3 restaurants. He was
Wow.
up to 3, and then. But I'm telling you, it's cool.
The
That
history about bounces, right? It dates back a long time. And what's funny is that it probably definitely didn't even start here in the
No,
United
it
States.
started.
I would say England
England, definitely over there, or either that or Ireland,
or our
where
pubs are.
pubs.
Well, because
Right,
prominent.
if you guys
The
remember
pub.
too, I did a documentary. It was called "Bounce Behind the Veil."
Yes,
right.
back
and
in
we were going to
2000.
talk about that.
Yes.
And The guy actually, they call him the governor, Lenny McLean. He actually was like a real toughie, like one of those real tough, like English guys. And
Right.
it was cool. I actually didn't get a chance to meet him because he had died before the film was finished and it was released.
Oh wow.
We were supposed to have a big thing in LA where all of us were going to meet, and it didn't happen because he had passed
Right.
away. But yeah, you know, you could tell just when you watch the documentary that guy was no fucking, like when he was young.
Yeah.
You
Right.
could tell like he was a tough dude. You know, and just like New York, like this. I recently went to Europe and I went to London, and I've been
Right.
in these areas. There's a lot of fucking tough dudes.
Oh
over
sure.
there.
Yeah,
without
no,
a
no,
doubt.
I mean,
Come
a
on
lot
now.
of tough
got,
guys.
Well, we also had a limelight there too.
it's-
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
It comes. I think it comes from, not the tough guy, but I think it comes from like growing up in that
Yeah,
area where it's kind of poverty stricken, but not quite. I mean, like we're not dirt poor.
right.
You know, we weren't like it wasn't
Working class people,
right?
You know?
But
Regular
not
working
like
class.
I mean, not like working class people. I mean, like you have. I don't know how to say it, so I won't because I'm not that well educated. But you know, you come from the rougher areas.
Yep.
Yeah.
The ones that borderline the ghetto, but weren't in the ghetto and weren't in the good neighborhood. It was somewhere in between, and that's where most of those tough guys come from, because you had to work for what you wanted. You had to be there. You had to do in order to make
Right.
it.
Right. And the community idea too, right? So you get that idea and that sense of community base, right? Because us as bouncers, basically, when we decide that we're going to work at a spot, that basically becomes our home.
At home,
Right.
right? You set down
So
the law.
you
You run
set-
it the way you
right,
want,
right.
especially if you're a door person,
Right.
a door guy. And
Right.
remember too, you also, when you're at the door, you become that face.
Yes.
Yeah.
When
Yes.
people come in,
Oh, without a doubt.
that's why I tell people too. Like that's why I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of times I go to work too. I'm not in the best of moods,
Right.
Oh,
I'm not,
definitely
and-
not. Yeah.
but I've learned through the years. When I was younger, I used to take my attitude out on everybody.
Right.
But now I don't do that anymore. I leave that shit, whatever. If it's home or my job, I leave it there. And then I'm going to my next job and I take it from there. Because remember, you are the face of the club.
Without
And
a doubt.
a person that comes up and he's just getting out of work, he's tired. You know what? If you
Right.
give him small talk and you make him feel good, believe it or not, he's not going to remember nothing else but you.
that.
Yeah.
But that conversation
But that
that you had
conversation,
before you
that's
walked
right.
in, he's going to remember that.
That's
I'm
right.
telling you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
why,
yeah.
like, when me and my brother, when we work, and you know how many times I hear every night, I fucking love you guys, you and your brother, the best. And then
Right.
the other spot I'm at, oh, I just saw your brother. I fucking love talking to your brother.
Mm.
Because you know why? Because that's the impression that we give people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and they love talking to us.
Right.
Because
Well,
I'm just not like that anymore.
It's right. It's as easy as saying it. It's as easy as you give what you get. I mean,
But don't
you know?
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong though. Like if I'm at the door and you're going to be a fucking asshole, I'm going to be one right
Oh,
back
right
at
off-
you.
right off the
I'm not going to
bat.
be like, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
you
Well,
need
you-
to calm the
yeah,
fuck you.
you gotta
You're
set
gonna
the
talk to me
tone.
like that. That's it.
You have to set a
Yeah.
tone.
You
right?
give what you get what you
Right.
get what you give.
Yep. And we did that
For
too,
the
right?
most
So the
part, right.
idea, like Rich has worked at the Tamaqua for quite a few years. How many years?
16.
16 years. So literally, that is like another home for you.
Right.
Those people
Yes.
mean a lot, right? And I think when that whole idea of the bouncer terminology and the idea of what a bouncer does is that when he takes on that responsibility of the nightclub, he takes on the responsibility of the people inside too, right?
Now, every person in there, whether you work there or not,
Right. Exactly. Becomes the
become my
bouncer's-
responsibility.
Yes.
Especially-
100%.
Just remember
Especially
too,
now.
and then a lot of times too, when you have people that come into the club and they're drunk, you know, and of course they get irate, they get stupid, but you got,
Right.
and then I try to tell people, you got to understand, I'm protecting the club and I'm protecting you.
Right.
Yes.
What if something happens to you? I don't want you to get hurt inside.
Right.
So you know what? Your best bet is
Exactly.
just to go home and call
And
it a night.
sleep it
Right.
off,
That's it.
call it a night. Make
Right.
make this trip the safe one that you get home okay, because that's always the idea, right? We're worried about the patrons on the inside of the building. So if anything happens to somebody inside the building, we have a responsibility to that.
Yes.
We really do.
Yeah. There's been many a nights you calling somebody a cab.
That's it.
You know,
Yeah,
100%.
the last thing you want to be doing is calling an ambulance for
Right.
somebody.
Right, exactly.
So you call them the cab, you call their friend. If you happen to know them,
Yeah.
we happen to know somebody who they came in with,
Right.
you go to
Right.
that, or you go, he was sitting over here, or she was sitting over here. Do you happen to know them?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
try to avoid everything at all cost.
It's funny. About a year ago, a quick story. This guy used to be a regular in the club. He was so hammered, like no cabs, nothing. It was late at night. Nobody would take him home. What do you think I did?
Of course.
I told him, I asked him where he lived, and I knew the guy. I see him every fucking night. He's there every night.
Right.
So I put him in my car and I drove him home. I actually got his keys. I opened his fucking door.
And-
I walked him up. I let him. As soon as he got in, I didn't give a shit if he fell on the floor. That's on him. He's home safe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But that's funny.
I've driven.
We've driven people before.
Right.
Have
I've
you
driven
driven-
people home many a times.
have you driven a lot?
Right.
He's a droven kind of
Have you
guy.
driven a
You know, right. Many a times, just
Yep.
to make sure they're home,
Yeah.
they're safe.
Yep.
Especially too if you know them and they're regulars there and
Right.
they're regular patrons. You got to look out for them.
Yeah, and we do the having the idea, the responsibility of the patron is very important, right? Somebody drinks too much,
Yes.
Out you
come
go.
on, listen to me. We don't want them to get hurt. The last thing we want to do is want them to get hurt, but also, the idea is somebody else taking advantage of them, right? So
Yes.
sit down, tell us who you are, give us your ID. Let me see. Is there somebody here you were with? Blah, blah,
Right.
blah. If not, we call a cab or we, help
Right.
you out, because the last thing you want is somebody to walk out onto that street and then all of a
And
sudden.
it's funny too because the thing I always crack up when you work in the door. I love when people come up to the door and they're fucking wasted. You got to go home. You got to call it a night. No, I'm good. I'm like, okay,
I'm fine.
I'm good. No, you need to go home. No, I'm good. I'm like, dude, you can't even fucking stand.
Right.
How are you good?
I'm good.
And then he's going in his pocket. He's dropping his wallet on his phone.
oh.
And then I would say, you know what? You're real good. Get the fuck out of here. Go home and get in the cab.
You got to go.
See, and then at that point, you have to be a little like stern with them because they're not
Sure.
going to leave. They're
Yeah.
gonna bust your balls.
Yeah, we always had them, right?
Sure.
Somebody get escorted outside, right? Having too much to drink, acting wild, whatever, and you escort them outside.
Outside.
And I don't know why, but they always wander back.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh yeah.
They go around the corner. They'll go up there. They'll come around this corner, but we'll see them walking right back
They're
again.
coming.
Oh, they'll try to come right in.
Hey,
Oh, I
come in.
I'm like, dude, I just
Like,
told
we
you. I
just-
just
the
told you to
best
go home.
We just told you
The
to go
best is
home.
I left my
Oh.
jacket in there.
Yeah.
You didn't come with
It's
it.
70. It's 7,800 degrees outside. You had no jacket. Yes, I did.
Idiot. Yeah.
And oh man, I can't leave. Why can't you leave? I can't leave, man. My friends are in there. All right. Well, you just got to wait for your friends to get out,
That is
You
just
know.
so crazy.
You ain't got no friends.
right?
It's
Stop
just
lying.
crazy, man.
We had
Funny.
such a
Shit
great
that you
time.
go through.
I wish, I'm going to take a few minutes here and, say my condolences to Wayne. Wayne just passed away. Wayne passed away.
Yeah.
My best friend, Hugh, passed away. These are all guys we bounced with.
A little bit over a year ago. Right?
Reggie. I couldn't even tell you how many people have been gone. And some of them in the nightclub scene, working. Shot, stabbed,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. But I love the idea of the family that I have been able to call, family and my brothers and sisters. We worked with a lot of female
Right.
bouncers
Yeah,
too.
yeah, big time. They were big
Mona, Diamond. There was quite a few. There was some female bouncers later on. I remember when the nightclub scene was booming.
Booming.
And there was lots and lots of people. We
Right.
hired a lot of women in the beginning
just
to search.
Just to search other women at the door
Yeah.
because it was illegal to have men do it.
Right.
So you had to get a couple of the girls.
So you had a couple
Especially
of
the
female
hip hop
bouncers.
parties. You don't know what
Yeah,
they're
oh,
packing
yeah.
in their poo.
Oh. Shoot. They didn't even have
They're
boobs.
packing in the poo poo.
They didn't have boobs when they walked in, but shoot.
They had, the idea was we checked everybody because I remember Tunnel was the hardest search there was the hardest search. They had the airport,
Yeah, the walkthrough.
the walkthrough. We had 3 of them. And you had to empty all your stuff out when you got in, literally, in just like the airport, into a bin. And
I used to love
checked.
because remember, I used to love the expression on some people's faces when they would walk in and they would look and I'm like, what the fuck? Where am I going into a war zone?
Right, they didn't know they weren't from around.
Yeah.
Like some of these people used
Yeah.
to come. They were from
It's
all
like,
over the
but
world.
it was so funny the way they would look and they were getting searched. They would be looking around like they're like scared shit. And they're like, where the
Oh, yeah.
fuck am I going?
Yeah, they were.
And I'm like, I said, you're going to war, baby.
That's right. They were from New Mexico or some shit.
I used to
They
die.
walked in-
It was so funny that their expression was
out of
so
town is
hilarious.
always people from other
Tourists,
countries. Yeah,
right.
the
Oh,
tourists.
especially the people from other countries.
Right. Because they would come in and be
Because
like,
their cops didn't even have guns.
what the heck?
Never mind, like some
Yeah.
random person having a gun on the street. They're their own Their own police force didn't have
don't
guns.
have
It's funny a lot. I used to go when my mom lived upstate. I used to go visit her, and I used to stay there for a couple of weeks. And everybody would get wind that me and my brother were from New York, Brooklyn, no less.
Oh yeah.
And then they would come up and they would ask me all these like crazy questions.
Oh
like,
yeah, the crazy
is that
questions.
true that and I was like, dude, listen. I said, as a matter of fact, coming up here yesterday, I had to walk over a dead body. It was right in front of my door. They're like, you got to see them. They're all staring at me. Oh my
yeah.
God, really?
What?
I said, dude, but you know what? They're like, why don't you move? And I'm like, you know what? I'm used to it already.
Yeah.
I'm used to.
No, I love it. And that's the other part about this, right? You had to be a different breed to be a bouncer. That was the thing, like we talk about, like they always have this idea, right? All bouncers are big guys and
stupid
and
Right.
dumb, and that's definitely not the case.
Right.
That's number one.
Well, they tried to nip that one in the bud when they put out Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Right, with Patrick Swayze.
You know,
happens to be
not
my
everybody-
favorite movie.
I love that
It's a
movie.
I
great movie.
fucking love that movie, man.
What makes me love that movie is Sam Elliott.
Yeah,
But
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
no, but
it's a really good movie, but Sam Elliott made it great.
Okay.
yeah, but the idea of it is that everybody thought, like you said, everybody who bounced in the club was a big lughead. That's definitely not the case
Right.
at all, not even a little bit. But it's not only big guys.
Right. I'm
You have-
educated.
Right, exactly. The
Yeah.
idea is that you have to have a good wit about you, and you have to be able to diffuse situations, and you have to be able to handle yourself. You don't
Right.
necessarily need to be the aggressor all the
Right.
time. That was the idea. The
Yes.
idea is to diffuse the situation and try and make sure it doesn't escalate. Because, like we talked about before, you're in such a confined space sometimes with
Oh, yeah.
thousands of people at
Thousands.
one place.
Yep.
So at any given time, something pops off.
And you have to be a good observer too, because
Yes.
that's why I
Oh,
used to
yeah.
laugh. Like some of these guys are like, they're like just standing there and they're like that on
Yeah.
their phone. Dude, get
Yeah.
the fuck off your
The
phone
total-
and watch, man.
Yeah.
You
Total
gotta observe.
reaction guys.
Yeah.
The total reaction guy. There's a total reaction guy. There's a guy that sorry.
Hey,
Oh,
Yahtzee.
Right. Like Clint Eastwood in Heartbreak Ridge.
Right.
Only break during war.
Yeah.
That's what they told him. You're the guy. We only break open the thing during war. There's guys like that bounce. They're reaction guys. If something happens, I'm there. They're nuts to get into
Right.
it. But they were never like, hey, man, it looks like
Yeah.
you had enough to drink.
Right.
It looks like, hey, you know what? Your girlfriend's a little out of hand here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't.
Bring it down a notch.
Rich,
Yeah.
do you know how many times, like when me and Mike worked together, how many times, like when I used to work, even Limelight, even like other clubs that work, Latin clubs, they always just like sometimes too, it's like, it's just weird. It's just, I had such a fucking knack for that shit.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
I would see it coming.
Oh, yeah.
Like I can look and I
Yeah.
can look in a crowd and I could just spot
Oh, yeah.
fucking a problem. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because the experience that I have, or maybe
Right.
like, again, it's just certain people have that knack.
So, yeah,
Oh,
certain
yeah.
people doing certain
And it's
people
like,
don't.
I always, my brother had it
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
has it. And it's like, you could just spot that shit, man. Especially too,
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. It's like,
it's-
you know what you're looking for. The same
Right.
thing, like, in my day job, my day business, I don't want to say where I work, but it's the same shit.
It's
You
the
have
same
to have a
kind of
knack.
thing.
You got to
Right.
know what the fuck you're doing.
You do.
You have to
You
see
do.
it. You have to
Yeah.
see it coming.
I don't brag amongst myself. I don't think,
You don't brag amongst yourself.
Right.
That's hard to do
Because-
sometimes.
because nobody listens. But I don't usually talk about myself in really high regard. But something I do well, and I am very, very good at, and that is bouncing. I know the situations. I know what
Hey,
to
you
look
could
for.
read
Right.
people's
I know what
body
to
movements.
hear. I could hear a fight before
Yeah.
it's going to happen. I've seen it before. I'd like to think at this point I've seen them all. You never have, because there's always that one thing that you go,
Something
holy
goes
crap,
wrong.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
But I've seen it. I've done it. I've been there, man. I could tell.
Yep.
I would say half the problems that I've had
could
in the
spot
place, I knew it was going to be a problem when the person walked in the door.
Yeah.
Man, woman, or child.
Well, yeah.
I knew they were going to be a
That's why
problem when
a
they
lot of
walked in the
times.
door.
A lot
That's
of
why
times.
it's always good a lot of times too when
The
I
spidey
when
sense.
I work the
Oh,
door,
yeah.
I check IDs or whatever, and I'm talking to them. That's why I like to make small conversation, because
Oh, yeah.
you really get to know somebody. You could tell them by their personality, the way they are, whether
Right.
they're, even if they're not drunk, but you could see
Oh, sure.
that if they're going to be a
The
potential.
way they
Yeah.
Trouble.
the way they present themselves.
It's
when
just
you
the
first
way.
meet
Again,
them.
like I said, an ordinary person wouldn't understand because they don't have that knack.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's been many nights when I see somebody come to the door, and you're working a local place, so you're not searching anybody.
Right.
You know, if they don't have anything like visibly showing,
Right.
you, for the most part, especially if you don't know what you're doing, you would never be able to tell this guy had a weapon, or even a lady had a weapon. Man, you know how many guys I've checked without them knowing? I checked them to make sure they didn't have a weapon. I mean, really. I mean, you know, all you got to do is I got to bring you close enough. Hey, man, what's up, man? How you doing it? Touch the arm. What's up, man? How you been? But, you know, but
those are those tricks.
I've patted them down. They didn't even know.
Those are those tricks.
The only place they could have had it would be on their ankles because I'm not bending down.
Right. Right. But we do. That was my first gig when I started with you at the underground.
You searched the people in the front door. Yeah.
I searched because that's where you start on the hierarchy.
On chain gang.
That's right. That's where you start on the chain gang.
On chain gang.
You start search.
That's where I started too. But you know what? I was actually a fast learner too. I started there, but then I would push and I would bitch. But I used to tell Sterling, whatever, put me on the floor. You're wasting my experience here.
Yep.
Get me the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah. We had a search. I mean, I did it at the beginning too, but
I would do it to help out here and there.
We did it, but only for the first hour. The first hour or so when the line was
get
long.
them in.
Yeah.
And after that, you know, we'd go in and hit our spot, which was cool.
I love the idea.
And
I love the idea of the nightlife business.
One of the only places I ever worked at was the underground, where you got a raise. If you worked steady every weekend for 3 months, they gave you $5 more.
No, I never think. I don't think I ever had that.
It's like, really?
That was pretty cool.
Because you're only getting $85 a night.
I don't think I ever worked at a place where you got a raise, especially a nightclub.
It's very hard.
It was $5, but you're like, okay,
but that's
I'll
why
take
you
the
had
$5.
But that's why you had to have that little bit of hustle sometimes, right? Because you had to make some side money. That was important, right? For all of us.
But the great thing was, like I said, when you're at that door and you they know that you're the guy to go to, and
you get hit off.
Oh my God. I can't even begin to fucking tell you the money that I made. I can't even begin. That's why when I joke around, like when we have talks, and I'm like, yeah, what's the most you ever think I made in one night? I don't know, 500.
Yeah, come on,
keep going.
Yeah, 5.
Oh,
okay.
1,000. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
500. Oh, 1,005. No, keep going.
Yeah,
they're like looking at me. I'm serious, man.
Yep.
The most, no joke. I'm not going to mention like the event or whatever, but the most I ever made in one night was $10,000.
Yep.
That's
nice.
No joke.
Yep.
It's no joke. And it was for a P. Diddy and after party for his concert at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
I made about $10,000.
Right after I said I'm not going to mention what it was about.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, why not?
It all starts out that way.
Get me one.
Right?
It all starts out that way. You know, we all like to think that, you know, well, here's a funny thing because, you know, like I said, the whole idea people think of bouncers is like, oh, he's a lughead. He's a knucklehead. You know, he don't know nothing. I go, listen to me. Find a guy who works the door. And I'm telling you, his math skills will be unbelievable. I shit you not.
Shit you not.
He could tell you, look, you got 4 guys. It's $30 to get in, 6 drinks, 4 for you to it. I'm just going to cost you $75 to get skipped in the line. We already know how much money you're going to spend. You got money to spend at that door.
Sure.
I already know.
You come in the club, you think you're going to impress some chick when you walk in.
Oh, without a doubt.
So you got $300 to $500 on you
at minimum. So you will
each
be
one of these do. I need to get paid. Somebody's got to help me out.
And
rent's due.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's like it's almost like once you start getting that flow of money, and it's every week, every night, especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday.
Sunday sometimes.
But,
well, Mecca, if I work Mecca was the best night.
But it was just crazy, man. And all that because that was their biggest night.
But
the whole thing is that because I remember when I worked at frickin' Lotus, our big night was Monday nights.
Yeah,
that's where I used to.
That China Club.
China Club was good every fucking night.
Yeah. But Mondays was the shit.
Remember we used to go by there on Mondays?
Mondays
hang out, bug out.
Yep.
I used to work there. Man. I worked in China Club quite a number of years.
I didn't. You know what's funny? I got offered to work there. I never did. Because at that point, I think I started branching out and doing like some small clubs on my own at that point. I got offered to work there and I said no, it wasn't for me. And then I went out and started doing my own thing. And it was good because then I started making real money. You know, once I started getting gigs and because you do that now, and Rich has done it with me in the past and he's done it on his own. That's when you start to make a little extra dough, and that was pretty good. You know, so I like the idea of branching out, being able to do my own thing. And what's funny, because I give a lot of kudos to the nightclub business and the bouncing business, because, you know, like
it's
I said,
not easy, that's for sure.
it's not easy. And it also gives you that way where you have that acceptance where, like Frank was saying, you know, that if you were out of work or at your regular gig or whatever, you could always go bounce somewhere.
Right, yes.
You know, and it was a very, you know, inviting way to understand that, you know, us as, you know, the bouncing community,
Right.
like we all do look out for each other too every once in a
Right.
while. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
yo,
well, the guys who, I tell you what, guys who've been working from the 80s and the 90s, and let's say the beginning of the
not
you know,
even.
the
I wouldn't
beginning
even
of the
go
turn of
that
the
far.
century.
Maybe 2000. Maybe.
You know, there's a bouncer respect thing, man.
Yeah, there's a
it's
code.
It's a code. It's been there for a long friggin' time, man. And if I walk up to your door and you're working a place,
Yep.
and I tell you where I work at or where I am,
And you don't
working
show
at,
courtesy.
and you don't give me the courtesy, man, there's a problem.
Yeah.
See, but the whole thing is nowadays too, but it all depends on where you work, because these big clubs now, that doesn't fly anymore, man. It's
Yep.
like you can't just open a rope and let them in because
Yep.
you know they work. You have to talk to the doorman. The
Right.
doorman, oh, this and that. And most of the time, you know what he's going to tell you? No.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't know him. I don't give a shit. He's not coming in. And that's the way it goes. And it's kind of fucked
Right.
up.
Well,
but
we
that's
all
what-
know
but you
the
know
times
what?
have
But if,
changed.
but if all his ugly ass fucking people come, he lets them all in with no problem, this and that. But
Right.
if you have one person that comes by just to want to have a drink or whatever,
Yep.
he
Right.
gives you a hard time.
Come hang out with
Yeah.
you.
It changed. It wasn't like
Yeah,
that
we
back
know.
in the
It's
day
not.
when we did it.
Yeah, it's bad.
You know, you say, yo, I worked here. And they just said, all right, no problem. Come on in.
And then I say to myself, when I would look, and I'm like, I'm protecting this fucking guy's
Yeah.
ass.
Mm.
You know, like
Yeah.
when he badmouths somebody. I've seen doorman to great people. Like
Oh, yeah.
one time I was working with a doorman, and I felt so bad. This girl was a heavy set girl, and she got mad, and he started calling her like a fucking fat bitch.
Oh, you
like he
dumbass
was like,
motherfucker.
yeah, he was like really.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like. And I'm like looking, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, I can't believe I'm listening to this, and I gotta fucking protect this guy.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
After 2-3 fats,
Yeah.
I might lose my mind
Yeah.
because I've always been a big guy.
And then he walks, and then he comes back after she walked away, and he was like, "Oh," he goes, "You know, she wasn't getting in anyway. She just was. She's too fat, and she didn't look good for the place."
Right.
Yeah.
She didn't look good for the place.
Yeah.
Go
Nah.
fuck yourself.
You don't look good for the place.
Meanwhile,
That's- yeah.
but I told you, meanwhile, you had to see all his friends, the
Right.
people that he used to let in.
Oh, sure.
Look like shit. They look like
Yeah.
fucking bums on the
Yeah, they're
street
homeless people.
because of all that grunge and all that
Yeah, yeah.
shit. But you know,
Up your
and I used to
ass.
look, and I'm like, but that's the shit you let in.
Yeah.
But you know, that's life, man.
Listen to me.
We're all past that.
We're all way past this. And listen to me. I can't say enough good things about the nightclub business and the nightlife and how it's treated me. All the way from the beginnings when my father did it, and then my brother, and then all the people that I've met along the way in this business. I give kudos to everybody who spends their lives or their careers in this business. It's a difficult one. It's a trying one. It's filled with ups and downs.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
filled with a
Oh.
lot of sleepless days. And
Oh,
I say
yes.
this, right? Because your body schedule gets kind of screwed up a little bit from working nights all the time.
Oh,
So big hello to everybody out there who's doing this still.
yeah. Who has
Frank.
just woken up because you worked last night and the night before.
Yeah.
Like today.
Yeah. And I'd like to wrap this whole thing up by saying to everybody out there that I've ever worked with, all my friends who have basically spent their lives in the nightclub business and the nightlife business. Big shout out to my father and my brother
Oh, yeah.
for getting me my first bouncing gig. But I want to say for everybody who's basically sacrificed their lives, literally, who has
Yes.
been killed in
Yep.
this doing this job.
In the line of fire. Every night we went there and worked.
Yeah, and people will never see that or hear about them. And I just like to say, you know, when you go out to a club or a bar or something, and you see a guy working the door, or whatever, then just
Don't automatically just break his fucking balls.
yeah, it's unnecessary. They just want to make sure that everybody gets
Doing
home
the
safe,
job.
you know. And it has given me the opportunity, and thank you to my father and my brother, because it gave me that opportunity when I was a young kid filled with a lot of piss and vinegar. And you know that, Frank, because you and I came up the same way. We wanted to do what our friends were doing and what our family was doing. I wanted to be a bouncer. I wanted to be like my father. I wanted to be like my brother. I liked that camaraderie that lifestyle gave to them.
Right.
Yeah, it did a lot for us, man, because we always knew we weren't alone.
Yeah. And that was that thing. Like, we had this weird sense of community about us, right? When we first met, it's like you knew right away. It's like when I met my best friend, Hugh, and I met him at the Palladium.
Right. And you know who's going to be good and who's going to be with you and who's not.
You know that
First day.
That.
And I like to say, thank you to everybody out there that's watched my back. And I want to say everybody out there for giving me that opportunity to watch your back and yours as well, and being safe enough with me to understand.
Yes. Thank you, Frank.
We were all in this together.
Yeah, well, like I told you, it's like it becomes a family, and especially too, like I said, you're not going to be close with all the guys.
No,
but there are a few that you do bond with.
And while you're working,
and when you work, it's like that's your family because you rely on each other and you trust each other to have each other. That's why it's like when I used to work with my brother, I knew, regardless of the fact whether we went out in a blaze of glory or we got our ass kicked, me and my brother were always together.
Right. That's why when we did it, that's why when we did it together, there was no doubt in my mind. I was at ease. I can work so much better.
Yes.
When he was with me, or my old man.
Yep.
When Don was with us, when my father was with us.
Yeah.
Man, the three of us worked plenty of times together. And you know what? There would be no way. Right. You could have brought your brother, the army, a tank, and the Russian mafia, and you wouldn't have taken the three of us down because we just were that confident because we knew we had each other.
Right.
Yeah, because we had each other. So listen to me, folks out there. This is how this goes down here. This is my brother from another mother. Seriously, Mr. Frank Sly. And of course,
thank you.
My brother, the fabulous, marvelous Mr. Big Rich.
Big cleaver on his chain.
And everybody out there, this is the Everything and Nothing podcast. And I tell you, folks, I'm going to tell you the same thing I say all the time, and that's every day is a good day. And if you give a smile, you're going to get a smile. And we're going to do the last thing that we always do here at the podcast. I'm going to get out the fortune cookies because that's my favorite thing to do. And everybody gets to read
2 weeks in a row, I get fortune cookies.
Hold on.
All right.
Talk amongst yourself.
Talk amongst yourself. I'm feeling clumped.
Yeah, I just want to say, Dan, this is my first podcast I've ever done, and it's actually really cool, man.
We de-virginized them. Look at that,
man. Really, there goes my egg foo young. All right, not open it, no.
No.
All right, that's yours. All right,
I'm back.
So what do we have to do? We have to read off.
Still can't open it.
Okay, so now we do it here. Everybody has a fortune cookie, and you pass it to your right. So the idea is that somebody else is giving you good fortune.
Okay.
So that's how we do.
You don't pick your own fortune.
You don't pick your own fortune. Somebody gives you good fortune.
So do we have to read our fortunes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And you can eat the cookie, too, if you want. That's up to you.
I hate fortune cookies.
All right, so don't eat it. I'm not.
They hate
Me and Rich ain't going to force you.
I'm not.
You hurt?
Hey, now I got to put on my spectacles.
See? No, you use them first. I read last.
Right. Oh, okay. So I'll read mine.
So, Frank, you're going to go first.
A lifetime friend shall soon be made. Isn't that fun? That's funny.
Isn't that
A
ironic?
lifetime friend shall soon be made.
Wow.
That's what it
Wow.
says.
And then what we do is afterwards we initial them and we put them on the board.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
So I'm very excited about this. So go ahead, Rich.
All right. It kind of works for me, if you know me personally.
Even if you don't.
Even if you don't, but a way out of a financial mess is discovered as if by magic.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It's
It
possible.
works for me right now. I just invested
See?
some money in the stock market.
So that's what's up right there.
Okay.
Hopefully financial success will be coming your way. Maybe share it a little bit. All right. This is true.
What you
And
got?
this is definitely just always works in the favor of the podcast. And it says great thoughts come from the heart. We know this, right?
Yep.
So
Definitely nothing more true than that.
I say to everybody out there, make all your thoughts come from your heart and you'll be all right, folks. That's another Everything and Nothing podcast, folks. We go over, as we always do every week, because my guests are absolutely amazing every time we do this. My brother, of course, Big Rich.
Thank you.
And Mr. Frank Sly.
Thank you, Shannon, for having me on. It's my first podcast, and I had a ball.
And you are fantastic.
I had a ball too, but it was Frank.
Thank you, guys. Not my balls. No, that was cool. Wow, that's fucking cool. That was cool.
Now you got to adjust again to hearing.
I know, right? I was like, what the fuck? I can't hear nothing.